They arrest me. She's an officer. She said, I got to get you out of here. What we started looking up was countries that don't extradite, Guatemala being the closest one by land. Guatemala bound. One day when I went to pick my kid up from school, I was going to meet her mother at a restaurant and for lunch. And when we were pulling in, she was walking out of the restaurant with another girl behind her, a girl that I've been flirting with. Never did anything, nothing, right, outside of just words, flirting with her. But when they're coming out the door, I'm like, oh, fuck. They both look pissed off. Like, this is going to be a problem. But I think I was like 22, 23 at the time, just fooling myself, not really being like a man, like, okay, you're right, you caught me. Right. Admit the shit. I was like, she's totally lying. Because what happened was the girl was telling my wife, like, that I've been, talking shit to her, flirting with her. And so when they come out and approach me with it, I'm like, no. She's totally lying. She was trying to buy some white from me. I wouldn't sell her anything. So now she's trying to start a problem. So we're arguing, but we're getting loud, right? But it's like my motorcycle's here. I'm on this side. She's on that side, and we're arguing. And then the people that own the restaurant, they come outside, and they're like, get out of here, dude. You can't be out here arguing at the front door. Right. All right, cool. I'm out of here. So I get on my motorcycle and leave. I live like 2-3 minutes from that restaurant. And when I get home, her brothers start calling me. She had three brothers, I think. And they're telling me, oh, you slapped our sister, scratched her car, and ran her in a ditch.
But none of that happened.
None of that happened. I mean, this is 25 years ago.
Right.
If it happened, fuck it, I slapped her.
Right.
If I scratched her car, then, I'll tell you, whatever. That's 25 years ago. I didn't touch a girl. I've never touched a female. I didn't slap her car, scratch her car, or run her in a ditch. But that's what she told them. Right. And so they're like, our sister called us crying, said all this stuff.
She's trying to get your ass beat. Right?
Yeah. But they're talking about other type of shit. Like, they're going to cut your head off. Like, these dudes are wild.
Right.
Her whole family's on dope. They're all strung out. They're known for being maniacs. And so when I'm trying to tell these guys, look, that's not what happened. They're like, we don't want to hear it. Da, 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 da. They're threatening me, right?
Yeah.
Now they're talking about coming to my house. And so we just keep going back and forth on the phone, not really making any. They're not hearing what I say at all. Yeah. A couple hours goes by, they show up at my house. The brothers, her uncle, they're all out front. And when I go outside, I'm like, oh shit, this is a problem. So when I see them out there, I say, oh, y'all want to play? I got something for you. So I could turn around and go back in the house.
I just said, call the police. Call the police.
Nobody calls the cops.
Call them the cops.
There's no calling cops back then in my situation, the way I live, right? Yeah. There's nobody's calling the cops. So, hindsight, call the cops.
Yeah.
Right? I'll call the cops now.
All right.
Hey, get these people out of here.
Right.
This is a different situation, right? So what they think is that I'm going inside to get a gun.
Right.
Because prior to this, like when I was riding a bicycle around my neighborhood as a young kid, I had a gun. Like we were in shootouts in the neighborhood as kids, teenagers shooting at each other.
Right.
Like you got a problem, we're just shooting at each other. And so they think that I'm going inside to get a gun. But what they don't realize is that in 1998, when I got the sales white charge, I sold all the guns I had. I don't have any more guns, but they don't know that. And so when I go outside, they take off. But now my ex-wife, she's right there. Like, you bring in the problems to our house. What if they come and shoot our house up? Our kids in here. And they're known for doing wild shit like that.
Right. Well, she's your wife at the time.
She's my wife at the time, yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? You're right. And she would not shut the fuck up.
Right.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to just go over here and tell these dudes, leave me alone. Like, stay away from my house. Your sister's full of it. That is not what happened. And so when I leave, I drive my dump truck because these guys are known for being maniacs, right? I don't want to tear my car up or something. So when I drive over there, they know it's my truck. I told you everybody knows my truck, right? So when I'm driving down the road to come to their house, one of the brothers runs out in front of me. He's like, dude, this truck weighs 22,000 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a dump truck.
Doesn't stop on a dime.
What are you doing? You're not going to stop the truck. So I swerved to miss this guy because he's in the road in front of me, right? And when I swerved to miss him, there's two cypress trees on the side of the road. And this isn't a small, back road, one lane. Like the dump truck takes up the whole road. So when I say I swerved, there's not like a whole lane to swerve across.
Right.
I'm already in the grass. And then there's two cypress trees. As I'm swerving, I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm trying to miss the trees. And what I didn't see in my swerving in the trees was the other brother. So like the truck's going this way. Mm-hmm. This is the driver's side. The other brother runs across the yard and tries to jump. Are you familiar with the dump truck?
Yeah.
So it's got the handle with the step. You got to climb
Right.
up to get in. The other brother, he's running toward the truck that's in a forward motion, jumps where the step is, and his foot slips, right? So if you're jumping, right, your feet slip. He went under the truck.
Under the tires?
Under the back tires,
Oh.
yeah. So he jumped right at the middle of the truck where the cab is. His feet go under, and the truck's in a forward motion.
Yeah.
Back tires ran him over. They run over his torso. So, like, he went under, like, feet first, like this, and the back tires ran him over. But I didn't even see it happen. It's at nighttime. Well, it just got dark. It's at nighttime. The windows are tinted in my truck, and I'm looking in front of me.
Right.
Like the idiot that just ran in front of me in the tree that I'm trying to miss. But I felt the back of the truck go,
Right.
I'm like, what was that? You know what I mean? Because I didn't run anything over.
Mm-hmm.
So why did the back of the truck just bounce? It just gave me a bad feeling. I'm like, oh, fuck. Something happened. But I didn't see what happened.
Right.
But
Keep going?
I just kept driving.
Right.
About 30 seconds, a minute passes, my phone rings. And it's a friend of mine that is with the girl who started all the bullshit. He's
Right.
like, dude, your truck just run this dude over and killed him. Her brother.
Whoa.
Yeah. When he said that, I didn't say anything in reply. I just hung the phone up. He was like I was in Twilight Zone.
Right.
I'm just like, what the fuck? Like tunnel vision. How did that happen? I didn't see it happen.
Right.
I didn't know that it just happened. I'm like, I can't even believe that this happened. I didn't go over there for that. I went over there to keep the problem away from my house, tell them, leave me the fuck alone, quit coming by my house.
Right.
And now he just called and said the guy's dead. It's a 22,000 pound truck. You're not going to live through that. You're dead immediately.
And you don't have a weapon in the truck?
No.
Okay. Do you call the police or do you just keep going home? What do you do?
I panicked.
Right.
Right. Hindsight, yeah, I should have pulled over. As soon as you know that you've been in the accident, right, it's your obligation to report the accident.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I was
just
thinking
what-
you wouldn't have been that bad of a position because they had come to your house.
Oh, I
you
wasn't.
went there.
Yeah.
You didn't have a weapon in the vehicle. It'd be different if you had a weapon in the vehicle because then they could say you were going over there with a weapon.
With intent, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I didn't have a weapon. I was going over there to try and explain to these guys, please do not, this is not what happened. Please do not come by my house. You're causing me problems.
Yeah. Hindsight.
Yeah, no.
Looking at the situation that already happened, that's the absolute correct answer.
Well, listen, I'm full of hindsight. There's
I'm
tons
full
of
of
things
it
I'd
now.
have done better. I made every bad decision there
The
is.
situation was there's a dead person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the main killer in this area, even though I'm trying to start this company.
Right.
That's all I'm known for. The cops been trying to get me, and now there's a dead person. And the only thing I'm thinking is, fuck, I'm going to get a death penalty. There's somebody dead. I don't even know how it happened, but I just know there's a dead person. And if you haven't been in the situation where there is a dead person, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
It's vehicular manslaughter, but
Yeah,
it's still a fucking
you know
huge-
that now
Yeah.
because you've been in
Well,
prison
even
and
then-
you know, like crime, like,
Even then, that's a serious fucking.
yeah,
that's
it's serious. But so I panicked, right? Later on, I was told by the prosecutor, not told to me because I didn't speak to the prosecutor, but told to my attorney, if he would have told us what happened, we would have never pressed charges.
Right.
Nice to know years later.
Yeah.
But I panic. I drive my truck down the road, park it on the side of the road, and I start peeling my name off the vinyl lettering.
This is all
I
bad.
have no idea why I did that. Not even thinking, just done it, right?
Right.
And so when you peel your name off or vinyl sticker off of a vehicle that's been painted, all the paint around it fades.
Right.
So it just highlighted where I just took my name off
Right.
the door of the truck, which the thing's, it's my truck. There's
Yeah.
no getting away from it.
Yeah, and these guys are going to say it was you and your truck and everything anyway.
Actually, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't?
No. They said, we don't know who it was. So supposedly the brother that ran in front of me told neighborhood talk.
Right.
He knew who it was. He wanted to handle it himself.
Yeah.
So he said, I don't know who was driving. I don't know who it was, right? It was just my truck. And so they didn't press charges on me for 3 years. They never pressed charges at all. They just wanted to question me, the detectives. But I moved because immediately right after that, I'm getting a lot of threats from his family toward me, my daughter, my wife. My kid was in school. She goes to school with a bunch of their family. So, it's just a big problem. So we moved to North Carolina.
Okay.
And not running from the police.
Right. I was going to say, did the police talk to you? And you?
No.
Oh, you.
Well, I spoke to them. I said, you got a warrant? They said, no. I said, I don't have anything to say to you.
Okay.
So, and that was it. Never said nothing else to them. But if you're trying to run from the cops, you're not hiding in North Carolina. This happened in Jacksonville, Florida. It's like 300 miles away.
Right.
But the guy's family, who I told you about, they're all strung out on drugs.
Yeah.
They're not coming to North Carolina. They got to stay home and do dope.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just about safety. In telling my story over the years, people were like, oh, he ran. One, I didn't have a warrant.
Right.
It was my obligation to report what happened, but I didn't have a warrant.
Well, two, it's not, even if you're not concerned about yourself, you've still got a daughter. Like, you don't know what these fucking guys are going to do to your fucking kids or your wife, or you don't know what people will do to somebody else, because the way they look at it is, this guy killed my brother. It's acceptable to kill his daughter or his, sister or wife, whatever. You don't know what they're going to fucking do. Your best bet is to just remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did for 3 years. So we moved to North Carolina, totally changed my life. I'm up there working, doing like remodeling, nothing, no drugs, selling no drugs, right?
Right.
My wife was working and kids in school. Like, we were buying a place there in our, well, I think it was in her name, but she's my wife.
Right.
It was nothing to look us up, right? And then later on, like when I finally did get arrested, I seen in the paperwork, the discovery, they came to my place numerous times. Detectives came there and they were like, yeah, we see him. He's in the yard. They'd write the report. They were like, you want us to get him? They're like, no, we don't have a warrant. Don't even mess with him.
They're just checking to see where you are. So we know if at some point we want to grab him, we know where he is.
Yeah. But they never did, never questioned me. I spoke to them that one time and said, do you have a warrant? They said no. So I lived there for 3 years. And then my brother-in-law, he was like real lazy drug dealer. He was the type that lets people come to the house all day, like a trap house.
Right.
They kick his door in 3 years later, like raided his place. I don't know the exact details because I didn't talk to him for years. I just recently talked to him last year. He says it a little bit differently, but in my head, it's still the same way it's always been. He got his door kicked in. Sells white. They did buys in his house.
Yeah.
And later that day, he wrote a statement. They charged me a first-degree murder. Dropped all his charges.
What was his statement that you had told him, or he has to say that something. He has to say that he has knowledge of you doing this.
He was with me.
Oh,
he was in the passenger side.
Oh, he was. Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so he was in the passenger side of the dump truck. And over the years, they had questioned him multiple times. He's like, oh, no, me and my girl were at a restaurant somewhere. And then now when this happened, when they kicked his door in, he's like, well, yeah, okay. I was in the truck. Right. He was driving.
So now
but he did say in his statement that it was an accident. Like, he told the truth of what happened.
Right.
Right. But they charged me with first-degree murder, capital felony, death penalty.
Holy shit, it was fucking, at best, it's vehicular manslaughter, at best.
Leaving the scene of an accident involving a death.
Oh, okay. So what, in Florida, that elevates it to?
Maximum is 15 on that. When you see people getting that, because I sat in the county jail for 2.5 years,
right,
they're getting like a year. Nobody's getting any time for that. Most people get like a year, 6 months, 10 months.
For leaving a scene or for vehicular manslaughter?
Leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. But you can get up to 15 is what I'm saying. But people that I seen with that charge during my 2.5 years of sitting in the county jail,
right,
once I got arrested, they weren't getting more than a year.
Yeah, but you weren't even charged with, you were charged with.
No. I'm saying that is actually what I was guilty of.
Right.
But they charged me with first degree murder.
Right.
And
okay.
So I'm living in Carolina at the time. 3 years I'd been up there, right? I bought a head shop, like a little smoke shop. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting, at that time, my wife and I had separated. She was with somebody else at that time. So I'm at my shop, just sitting there one day, and my mom calls me. She's like screaming in the phone, crying. She's like, you got a warrant for your arrest. It's first degree murder. I'm like, what? She says they left a tape recorded message. This was on May the 11th of 2003. And on the message from the detectives, they said, it's May the 11th, 2003. We got a warrant for your arrest for first degree murder. You got until May 29th to turn yourself in, which is my daughter's birthday. So, over the years they were investigating. They see me and my daughter really close. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, you got a warrant for first degree murder. Go have your kid's birthday, then turn yourself in. And when she gave me the message, I'm like, they're not letting you have birthday parties while you're wanted for first-degree murder.
Right.
Like, oh, go have a party. Just turn yourself in later. When she told me that, I hung the phone up and ran out of the store. There was a girl working for me at the head shop. She's like, what's going on? What are you doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm leaving. I didn't tell her shit. I never told anybody any details about the case. Nobody's going to turn this shit around on me. And so I ran out of the store. A little while later that day, the whole task force from Jacksonville that they assigned to like chase me, they were there in Carolina. And they just didn't know where my head shop was. But they found out, and they came that day to the head shop. But the girl had already locked the door. She didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And when they came, they had the news cameras with them. And they're outside shaking the door like, let us in.
You ever read a headline and think, wait, that's not what I read earlier? Or hear a story that was covered 2 totally different ways and think, I wonder which one's telling the truth. We all know the news can be biased. Algorithms push stories that they think you want to see. And some outlets spin stories to fit a certain agenda. It's exhausting trying to figure out what's real, what's exaggerated, and what's just straight up misinformation. That's why I use Ground News. It's a news platform that doesn't just show you the headlines. It shows you the whole story. It gathers articles from across the political spectrum, tells you the bias of each source, and even lets you compare how different outlets are framing the same event. For example, the recent federal health agency layoffs. Left-leaning news described the layoffs as a major crisis, calling them a bloodbath that could harm important public health work like tracking diseases. On the other hand, right-leaning news saw the layoffs as positive change. They called it a win-win for taxpayers, which could save $1.8 billion a year. Both sides agree the layoffs and changes were happening, but they strongly disagree on what it meant. Ground News lets you compare these side by side so you can actually see the bias and decide for yourself what to believe. You can also see things like how news sources are covering a particular story, political leaning of news outlets, and the blind spot feed where you can see stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. In a world of clickbait and echo chambers, having access to all perspectives is more important than ever. That's why I love Ground News. It helps me cut through the noise and stay truly informed. And right now you can get 40% off the Vantage plan for unlimited access. Just hit the link in my description, ground.news/inside, and start seeing the news differently today.
Obviously, she let them in.
All right.
But yeah. And I talked to the detective later because I found out they came. Uh-huh. And I was like, what are you doing? He said, I got till my daughter's birthday. Turn myself in. They're like, oh, you need to turn yourself in. We're going to get you. I said, look, you may as well go back home because you're not going to get me before her birthday. Right. They're like, oh, we're going to get you. We got a whole task force chasing you. I'm like, all right, you're wasting your time.
So what happened? I don't mean to laugh. Sorry. I mean, what happened? So did you avoided them until at some point you must turn? Did you turn yourself in or they grab you?
I got tired. So they chased me multiple times. And so from that point, when they put the warrant out, it was all over the TV. Everybody knew about it. Now people are like, oh, you can't stay away from us. Yeah. Friends, family. People were scared.
Yeah.
And then they were threatening them. You're going to get charged with the harboring a fugitive or aiding and abetting. So everybody was like, oh, you got to stay away. People that I knew up there, right?
Yeah.
And then my little girl's mother, she's just like, he can't be around us. You can't see the kid. And, rightfully so.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
But they don't want the kid traumatized. You got the kid that you get pulled over. The cops pulled a gun. There's your little girl's in the front seat screaming.
Yeah, that happened.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Boy, it's
So, and rightfully so. But in my thinking back then, I might never get out of prison. I want to see my fucking kid. And so her birthday was coming up, and I went and bought like little sentimental things that she would keep. And so I had a friend of mine go call her, get a hold of my ex-wife, tell her, hey, meet me over here with, my daughter. And then I forgot how he told her on the phone, but basically, hey, we're going to go meet him so he can give her stuff for her birthday. And so when he met her, he drove her all around different places to make sure nobody was following him. And I was at a roadside motel, not a hotel, but like a little motel with rooms out front. I'm there waiting on them. And before they got there, 3 girls pull up in a car. And they're like, hey, can you tell us how to get to blah, 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 asking for directions. They're being all flirty, smiling and giggling. And it's always my downfall.
Right.
some cute fucking chicks. So I'm thinking they're really talking, right?
Right.
But they recognize me from the news.
Oh, shit.
The chicks. Yeah. So I'm over here talking to them, yeah, go down here and, just bullshitting with them, right? They leave and call the cops.
Okay.
I'm not even thinking anything about it. Like they played it off really well. So they leave, call the cops. A few minutes later, my little girl's mother pulls up with my daughter. And so me and my little girl's mother weren't really talking much at that time. Like we're kind of like pissed off at each other, right? She's got attitude, I got attitude. And so while I'm talking to my daughter to give her presents, I'm like, hey, just go over there and look at the motorcycle. Cause I had my motorcycle airbrush trying to like disguise it a little bit. And so while she's over around the truck door, cause my daughter's sitting in the truck, I'm talking to my kid. She's over here in front of the truck where my motorcycle was. And she said, hey, there's cops coming. I'm like, whatever. She said, there's 3 of them, or 2 or 3, and they're in unmarked cop cars. I'm like, fuck. And she knows cop cars and unmarked cop cars from being with me for years. So I look around the door. I'm like, oh, fuck. I give my kid a hug, go around the door, jump on my motorcycle. And the first cop that pulls up, the detective in the unmarked car, like my motorcycle is facing the road, right? He pulls in. The smartest thing for him to do was block the motorcycle, knock the motorcycle over. They know that's my motorcycle. Mm-hmm. They already put that on the news. He should have blocked it, knocked it over. Instead, he pulled beside it. He jumps out. He's got his gun drawn on him. He's shaking, like clearly shaking. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, don't shoot me. I don't have a gun. And I took off on the motorcycle. But my kid is here watching the whole thing.
Right.
And like, obviously, I didn't see like the fit that she was going through. But later I was told that like she was like so hysterical about it. She was pulling her hair out.
How old was she?
9.
Okay.
Yeah. Like really bad day for her. She's 31 now. She says still when she goes by that exit off the highway, because she still lives in Carolina, when she goes past that exit, it's just like anxiety for her. Like just not a good time driving by there. Still bothers her. Like, I mean, it bothers me, but not in that way. I can drive by the exit, no problem.
Right.
Yeah. So that was one of the first like serious times when they chased me, jumped out with a gun right beside me.
So, but they didn't chase you. You took off on the motorcycle.
They chased me.
In pursuit?
Yeah.
Did you just lost them?
Oh, yeah. This motorcycle did like 175, just like
Okay.
really fast. And I can ride it pretty well. So I haul ass down to the red light. Mm-hmm. Light's red. There's traffic. I'm like, God damn it. I get up to the front. There's a bunch of traffic, but I shoot across like straight. It's like 4 lanes, a main intersection. Mm-hmm. I go across. There's cars going everywhere. And then a cop's coming. He almost hits me from behind. Like he's skidding. I'm like, but I took off and got on the highway. But the thing about running from the cops is whatever road you're on, highway, you can't stay in that fucking vehicle. Their radio is going to be way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I get on the highway, I hit the emergency lane. I'm doing like 175. I know I got to get off at the next exit, which is like just a mile or 2, like from that exit, right? When I get off at the next exit, I immediately turn right again. That road's like a dead end road. There's woods down there. I drive down that road, ditch the motorcycle in the woods, take off running. I'm running for like probably a couple of hours. There's a helicopter flying around. I'm like hiding under shit. They were building like houses, new construction. I'm running through houses, and I end up in a neighborhood full of just like white people neighborhood. There's this for sure every single time. If you're in a neighborhood of white people and the cops are chasing you, they're going to help.
Yeah.
They're coming out of their house to help you. They're chasing after you to help. They're going to try to tackle you, hold you. If you're in a black neighborhood, they're like, you go that way. We're going to tell you went that way or hide over here. They're going to help you. So I'm in this white neighborhood. I'm trying to get a ride. Everybody's like, oh, get away from me. And so finally I just keep running. And I don't know where I'm at because I'm in just woods. I know the area, but I've never been in these woods running around.
Right.
Like going the way that I'm going right now. But finally, when I jump a fence into an apartment complex, it's like an all black apartment complex. And I know a guy that lives there.
And you're like, yes.
That's what I was. I was like, this is great. I know I'm getting away now. And so, but the apartments, I've only came in from the entrance to go to his house. He was a blind dude too. Super cool fucking dude. I bought the head shop that I had from his cousin.
Okay.
But I've always came in from the entrance to get to his apartment. I came over the back fence. Now I'm like, God dang, I'm trying to find his place. I can't find which apartment he's in. And I'm kind of still in a panic. You know, the cops are chasing me. But there was a girl outside with her, young chick, with her daughter outside. The kid was riding a bike. And that I had a tank top on. My hair's like just, I've been riding my motorcycle. My hair's going all crazy. I'm cut up from the woods. I'm looking like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so I go to the girl and I'm like, hey, can I use your phone? And she said, yeah. And so she didn't get a cell phone. She went and got her home phone. She came out and gave me the phone. She's like, you want to go outside? Like, because she could tell something's wrong.
Right. All right. I'm with you. I got you. Thank you. Yeah.
So I go outside and use the phone. She stayed outside. Just let me go in her place, right? I call my buddy, the same guy that had my ex-wife come and meet me. I call him. I'm like, dude, this is where I'm at. Come and fucking get me. He's like, all right, I'm on the way. This dude, like, it didn't matter what he's doing. He could be in the bed with his girl. I'm like, bro, come and get me. Okay. Here, bitch, get out of the way. I got to go.
Right.
Like, he was that fucking loyal. He ended up turning me in, by the way.
Right. Oh my God.
Up to that point, he was super loyal.
Right.
Yeah. So I call Buddy. He comes. When I see him pull up, I run outside. He pops the trunk. I get in the trunk. We take off and I get away. He goes back and gets a motorcycle out of the woods. Like a couple hours later, the cops never found the motorcycle. And so now I'm like safe again for a couple of days.
Right.
But I'm just like running out of places to go, and running out of like, what am I going to do? But the biggest thing for me was, you're not going to arrest me before my kid's birthday. Already accomplished that.
Right.
So now I'm just running to run. Right. And
you're doing all this because you're basically thinking, it's first degree murder.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably going to get life. This guy definitely, if he died,
yeah.
who knows what the story is.
Who knows how this is going to turn out? I don't even know what happened. So how am I going to prove what happened?
Right.
Right. And so I ended up meeting somebody who told me this guy makes fake IDs. And so I tell the guy, all right, I need an ID. He's like, yeah, no problem. I get him a picture. He gets me an ID made. A couple of days later, after I get the ID from the guy, I'm at this little another one of those roadside motel things. I'm in the motel, like in the evening time. And the guy calls me. He's like, bro, you're all over the news. I'm like, yeah, no shit. That's why I needed the ID.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Dude, like a day or two later, I'm in the same place, like watching TV. I'm watching the news about me. And this guy's on the news. The ID guy, he's on there for identity fraud and all type of shit. I call him. I'm like, hey, dude, you're on the news? He's like, yeah. I don't know whatever happened with that guy. Never seen him again. So then I'm like, where am I going to go? They're like kicking doors in at family members' house. And so I'm running out of places to go. So I'm like, the last place they're going to look for me is where this shit happened, in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. They're thinking I'm just running. So I go to Jacksonville, and I had a place where I could go that they had not been to. They haven't associated me with it yet. So I go to this chick's house down there, right? But there's a chick that I used to be real good friends with. My ex was real good friends with, but it was kind of a jealousy thing, Mm-hmm. Father's Day weekend was coming up, and I was at that girl's. And I found out that my ex was down in Florida with my kid. So I call her from that girl's phone. I'm like, I want to see my kid. It's Father's Day weekend. She's with another guy at the time, right? I'm like, you're not fucking spending Father's Day weekend, my kid, with somebody else. I want to see my kid. And so we're arguing on the phone. Worst thing to do in this situation, right?
And she knows
who
you're with, at least.
Yeah.
If not where you're at, who you're with, so she can figure out where you're at.
Exactly. Yeah. And so now during this time, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to Mexico. I don't know what I'm going to do over there, but I'm going to go over there. And so I was actually going to get my window. I had a little car that I was going to drive over there, and I was going to go get the windows tinted. The day that her and I got in an argument, she had called the cops and told them I was at the girl's house. So that morning, this is 2003, right? People still had phone books. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking in the phone book, calling window tint places. The girl whose house I'm at, she's in the house asleep. So I was outside using the phone, just being quiet. The cops are outside watching me. The detectives, one of them was the one that pulled the gun on me, the old guy.
Right.
But there was three of them. They were waiting on backup because they know, like, they got to chase me.
Right.
So I go put the phone book up, and when I come back out, get in the car, I'm backing out. And when I'm backing out, I see them in my mirror, 3 unmarked cop cars, right? I'm like, fuck, there's a loop in the apartments. The only reason to go in that loop is if you live in there. So I'm like, all right, let me go in the loop. If they come in a loop, all right, you got to catch me. So I go, they start coming, I hit the gas. When I come out of the loop, the old man that was with the shaky gun,
right?
He had did a U-turn and came like behind me like that. Now he's in front of them.
Right.
He can't drive worth the shit. So he tried to pit maneuver me, where they hit your car.
Yeah, yeah.
But all he did was hit me straight in the back
and
just like push me. I appreciate it. So I'm driving like their neighborhood. Again, you got to get out of the car because they're going to catch you by radio. I got ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up at an elementary school. was a weekend.
Right.
There was no kids.
I was gonna say,
There's no
like
kids.
Enhancement.
There's no kids. So I'm way ahead of them. Like I don't see them anywhere behind me. I go through the school. I end up on the playground, like flying across the playground. I pull the emergency. It's a stick shift car with the emergency brake.
Right.
I pull the emergency brake and jump out of the car while I was rolling. The car goes. I jump out. I'm running. I jump over a fence. I end up in an apartment complex. All white people.
Right.
All you hear is sirens.
Right.
Like clearly the cops are coming, right?
Yeah.
And I'm running.
And so they're picking up the phone.
No, this dude comes running behind me. Like while I'm running across the apartments,
Right.
the dude's running behind me. And he's yelling, "Hey, come back. The cops want you." Like, no shit. That's why I'm running. What do you, like I'm going to turn around and be like, "Oh, they wanted me?" No shit, buddy. Dude, I've been running from the cops since I've been a little kid. Like
Right.
way before all this, I've ran from the cops a lot. And I could run fast and jump fences really good. So I'm running. This whole apartment complex has a big, tall, like 10, maybe 12-foot fence, chain link fence around it. When I get to the other side and jump the fence, the dude's like, "Oh, damn." You don't even try to jump the fence.
Right.
There's another car coming like down the road right there. He stops him. He's like, "Hey, help me get this guy. The cops are trying to get him." I'm like, what a fucking idiot. Like, I'm already across the fence over here. We're at the fence where I jumped it. It ends up on like a real main road, like the main road in that town, right?
Right.
But I land at a gas station. When I land, I'm looking, there's a black Crown Victoria with the cop light, cop wheels, tinted windows. It doesn't look like one that somebody bought, you know,
Right.
how you can buy them from the auction.
Yeah.
It looks legitimate. I'm like, damn, I just jumped right in the frying pan. Where am I going to go? But then there's a black dude walking with dreads to go get in the car.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I'm saved. I ran up on the dude that was getting in the car, like scared him.
Right.
He's like, "Hey, wait." I'm like, "Bro, give me a ride. Cops are chasing me." He's like, "Get in." I swear.
God.
Buddy's like, "Get in." He had a big fountain drink
Right.
in the passenger floorboard. When I got in, I kicked his drink over. He's like, "Don't even worry about it." Okay. He's like, "Where you want to go?" I'm like, "Bro, I don't care. Just drive. Get me out of here." Dude, when we pulled out on that main road, there was cops every fucking where. They're in the median. They're like driving down the wrong way on the road.
Right.
And we just blend right in.
Right.
Because we're in this black Crown
like,
Vic. Yeah. So he takes me to the main bus station in, City Bus, the main bus terminal downtown in Jacksonville. And there was a cop there. Like there's always a cop there. They come there in their car and then they get out and walk around patrolling.
Right.
I'm like, "Let me out by the cop car." You know, they never expect you to do shit right in front of them.
Right.
So I get out of there and go sit on I see the cop. You know, he's not part of that chase.
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there.
He doesn't.
I don't have any idea what's going on. So I sit on the bus bench and then wait on the bus. And I get a ride to the Mexican friend, the guy I told you about before we started. I get a ride over to his apartment. And this dude back then, a friend of mine, the Mexican guy, he paid for like everybody around him. He paid for everybody to live, fed them. He paid for every fucking thing. So I get a ride to his apartment. I'm like, "Bro, I need to chill for a few days." He's like, "Yeah, come on." So I hang out there.
He knows what's happening?
Oh, yeah, he knows.
Okay.
Yeah, he's cool, though. So I hung out with him for a few days. And then I'm like, "Bro, I need to go to Carolina." I lost in that car. You know, they took the car, that ditch at the playground. So I'm like, "I need to go to Carolina, get my motorcycle." So he's like, "All right, come on." He takes me to Carolina. I pick up my motorcycle. I come back down, hung out for a few more days. And I'm like, "Man, I got to get out of here. I got to go to Mexico." And I was going to drive my motorcycle all the way to Mexico. But the guy that I told you, the one that was real loyal, that would do whatever. If I call him, like, "Bro, come and get me." He's like, "Okay, cool." He owed me like $700 or $800, just a little bit of money. And I call him. I'm like, "Hey, man, I need to come pick my money up. I'm going somewhere." He's like, "All right, cool, but we got to do it early in the morning." This dude never gets up early in the morning.
Right.
So that was a red flag right then. But I was like, fuck it. It's whatever. So when I get up to Carolina, I left from Jacksonville, get up to Carolina, like 3-4 hours later, I stop at a payphone. At the time, I'm not using a cell phone anymore, just in case I try to track you on it. I call the guy from a payphone, and it was at the exit where I was supposed to meet him. I'm like, "Bro, something doesn't seem right. I'm going to meet you at the next exit, which is 10 miles from there." When I get on the highway, this is on I-95 in South Carolina. When I get on the highway, there's like a steel cable divider, separates the two sides of the highway. There's a whole caravan of cops going to that exit where I just came from. SUVs, cop cars. They're going there for me. I'm like, this mother. damn it.
You think it was over $700?
No, he got in some other trouble. Come to find out later, he got in some other trouble. So in order to get out of that trouble, he actually got caught with a bag of counterfeit money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's federal. So he's trying to get 40% off his sentence.
He didn't get anything.
Are you serious?
Nothing.
Oh, that's right. Well,
Zero.
think about what the guy he's turning in is wanted for murder.
Yeah. They dropped his charges.
Deal.
Dropped him completely. So I go to the next exit, and when I pull off, they're way back there, right? I'm like a few miles ahead of them. So when I pull off, I go in a gas station. I park the motorcycle. I didn't know what I'm doing at this time. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to let them get me. Fucking, I'm tired. So I parked the motorcycle. I threw the keys in the bushes, like by the motorcycle. And then when I came out of the store, I went to the McDonald's across the street. I went in there, I bought a Sprite. Like, this is the last Sprite I had. I always remember this fucking Sprite, right? So I'm standing in McDonald's drinking my Sprite. You know, you can see how there's a bunch of windows around McDonald's, right? So I'm standing there drinking my Sprite. Dude, there's cops everywhere, but they're across the street where the motorcycle is. And now they're starting to come. Now they're going to all the other shit. You know, the stores, McDonald's. They ride around McDonald's, and I'm standing here drinking my drink. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to go yet. So, you know, the back door by the bathroom? Mm-hmm. As soon as it's clear, I go out the back door. Ran through the woods, and I end up on a dirt road. It's this long dirt road that everybody's got like 2 or 3 acres of land. They got a double wide trailer, country living. Yeah. So I go all the way to the end, knock on the door. And now this is right beside I-95, right? There's a barrier of trees, and then the dirt road, and the people's land, right? So it's right beside 95. And again, I'm riding a motorcycle, so my hair is kind of like sticking up. I'm looking crazy. I knock on the door. Black dude comes to the door. I'm like, this is great. Saved. So dude comes to the door like, hey, man, I'm broke down on the highway over there. I just come through the woods. My motorcycle's broke. Can I use your phone? He's like, yeah, no problem. He goes in and gets the phone, comes back out, gives me the phone. He's back inside while I'm using the phone. I called my sister to tell her where I was at, like, come and get me. And when he went outside, helicopter comes. You can hear it coming, you know? So I get under his front porch. He doesn't see me get under the porch. I'm under the porch like, oh, shit. Helicopter flies right over. I'm like, damn, this is bad. So I knock on the door. I'm like, hey, dude, it's hot out here. You mind if I come in? He's like, come on in. So when I go outside, I end up calling. My sister said she was going to come and get me, but I called my little girl and her mother just in case. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this might be it. They may get me. I don't know if I have time to get it away from here. Right. Because they're eventually going to track me with the dog. But I asked the guy, I was like, hey, man, is there any way you can give me a ride? I forget where I asked him to give me a ride. He's like, yeah, for sure. Let me get ready. But he had 2 kids. And he said, let me get him and the kids ready. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, in the meantime, I'm still on the phone with my little girl's mother and my kid, while he's getting ready. And his kids keep running around the house. They're like just playing, jumping on shit, being loud. And then the little girl was like, Dad, there's cops outside. He lives at the end of a dirt road in the country. Mm-hmm. And there's some white guys that just knocked on your door. He said, get away from the door.
Right.
Well, he didn't even go look. Right. He just like, get away from the door. So the kids start playing more. And now she's like, Dad, there's a lot of them and they got dogs.
Oh, did he look at you? Is he looking at you? Like,
no, he went out there and looked. And he's like, what the hell? Dude, they got their Ninja Turtle suits on.
Yeah.
And so he's like, man, what is going on? I'm like, look, bro, they're here for me.
How's he not putting this together?
He didn't until, he asked me like, what's going on? But at first he wasn't like, hey, what? He wasn't suspicious. Right. I'm like, dude, they're here for me. And then, so I lift my shirt up. I'm like, look, I don't have any weapons. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I said, but these people, like, it could potentially turn crazy. Is there any way that, like, you could put the kids up, let them come in here and get me in front of you? Like, don't send me out the door. Right. Like, they may shoot me when I come out the door.
Right.
He's like, yeah, no problem. He puts the kids in the room. He's like, you ready? I said, yeah. He's like, hey, he's in here. They come running in. They come in running in with their little suits and jump on me like, like they're doing something major. Right. They got their knee in my back, growling and like threatening me and shit. What's your name? I'm like, you know who I am. I don't have anything to say to you guys. Take me to jail. And so they obviously take me to jail. Well, first they take me out in the yard, put me in the dirt. Like, it's all dirt out there, right?
Right.
They got me sitting in the dirt behind the car. And they got their dog, their German Shepherd, all in my face, like tongue hanging out, slobbering on me. I'm like, man, get your fucking dog out of my face. Like, you have me. What's the purpose here? What are you doing? So finally they get the dog and take me to the jail. I think it was maybe Beaufort, South Carolina, some little small town up there, right? And take me to the jail, to the second floor. It's not like a real big jail. It's just real small country shit, right? And the room that they put me in, the windows are open. But I'm handcuffed behind my back.
Right.
So I'm like, and there's nobody in the room. And the window's open. And I'm looking out there like, can I make it? Oh, no. This is going to hurt. So I was like, I ain't going to do it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, can you get out of the handcuffs?
Yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah.
I'm not experienced with getting out of these handcuffs. So
some
I'm like,
people,
damn
you
it.
know, like I have big hands. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen some guys who basically did, you know,
they
you've
do
seen
their
they
thumb
could
and
just
like
pull this shit, like no matter what, they seem to be able to do it. Yeah, I could never do that.
Yeah, that wasn't going to work. So I'm sitting there, and the two main detectives from Jacksonville come in. The task force guys, they're playing the good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
When I was running this mouth, I'm going to do everything I got to do to make sure you get life. And I'm like, everything you got to do is like way beyond your job description. How about you just do your job? Like, what do you mean by everything I got to do? You know, just present the evidence.
Right.
And then the other one comes over. He's like, hey, I just want to shake your hand. I said, shake my hand for what? You're taking me to jail. He's like, you're the hardest person I ever had to catch. I said, we're not friends.
Yeah.
I'm not shaking your hand. Shake your hand.
Impressed with you. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good cop.
Yeah. So they take me to jail. A couple of days later, they extradite me back down to Jacksonville. Then they pulled the whole fun, like, instead of Jacksonville, Duval County Jail is a real big jail. Like when you come in and you're the cop car, they raise the gate, you go outside the like Sallyport, they don't bring you outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, when they brought me from Carolina, they park right outside so it's a county jail with the police memorial building. Like there's big steps that go up. There's a lot of people out there all the time. They park right there. They already called the news.
Yeah, the perp walk, right?
Yeah, they did the perp walk. Yeah.
Cops we got this bad guy.
Yeah. They said it was a drug deal going bad. I maliciously murdered the guy. I'm like, wow.
The evidence, nothing shows that, right?
Nobody's even seen like the discovery at this point. Right. It's just what they were spinning.
Yeah.
So take me to the county jail, charged me a first-degree murder, capital felony, and they take me to the police memorial building first, where they like try to interview you. They put me in the interview room, like with a table like this.
All right.
And they come in there trying to ask me shit. I said, look, I don't have anything to say. You've investigated me for 3 years. I have not spoke to anybody. I'm not speaking to you now. You can take me to my jail cell. I don't have nothing to say. They let me sitting there for a couple hours. It's freezing cold in the room. Mm-hmm. They're trying to hope, like, what do you think this cold air is going to break me? Mm-hmm. No, I'm not saying shit to you. Nothing I say to you is going to help me.
So
they took me to my cell.
Right. So what is they give you get a public defender?
At first I had a public defender, right? And there was a girl that I went to school with that she was like a what is it when you work for like they do the research for an attorney? Paralegal. Yeah. A girl I went to school with, paralegal. And so she was coming to see me like daily. She's like, look, dude, we're going to beat this. It's not even a problem. The public defender they gave me, she's like, he's the best one we have. We can beat it. No problem. I'm like, okay. Hopefully. Sounds good. And then I don't know how long it was. This is all 22 years ago, 2003. At some point while I was there, they take me back to court and say that there's a conflict of interest. The guy that ran in front of me, the brother, he, prior to me getting arrested, had gotten arrested and was represented by the public defender's office. So now they can't represent me because of the conflict of interest. So they have to give me a court-appointed attorney.
Right.
I'm like, oh, all right. I'm thinking that's a good thing. Now, in the meantime, when I had a house in Jacksonville that was almost paid for. 2004 it was paid for, right? But I put it in my grandmother's name, like a quit claim deed, because I was worried about like losing it through this thing. And so I tell my grandmother, hey, go get the house is almost paid for. Pull some money out of the house, go get me an attorney. She's like, oh, you don't need one. You'll be fine. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so she would not do it. And I already put the house in her name.
Right.
So I can't do anything, right? And the girl from the public defender's office that I went to school with, her name was Michelle. She's dead now. Got in a car wreck, I think, and died. She came to see me one day. She's like, dude, this attorney they assigned you is trash. She's like, if you don't get a real attorney, you're fucked.
Right.
I'm like, oh, really? I call my grandmother, you got to get an attorney.
Right.
There's no other option. She's like, oh, you're fine. You don't need one. She's like thinking it's not a big deal. I'm like, this lady is tripping. So, when you're in, I don't know if you sat in the county jail long, but county jail, people are looking out the window all day. That's when visitors are coming. In that county jail, visitors could come every day. So the guys are looking out the window all day. I'm looking out the window, and I'm in Duval County Jail, right? So I'm way up on the 5th floor, which is like 10 stories because each floor is like 2 stories. So I'm pretty high up in the air, right? And I see this truck pull in that looks like a friend of mine. I'm like, damn, this looks like a buddy of mine from Carolina. A little while later, they call my name for a visit. I walk in, and it's my buddy, dude named Mike. I'm like, man, how'd you even know I was here? He's like, dude, it was all over the news. He's like, why didn't you tell us? I'm like, tell you? I didn't tell anybody. He's like, man, we would have helped you. Like, you could have went, they owned like a car lot, a restaurant. They had a bunch of money. They were like, we could have hid you in the property. Like right. Okay, I wasn't telling anybody. So he says, you got an attorney? I'm like, nah, I got a public defender or, court-appointed attorney, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, man, find an attorney. I'm going to be here for a few days. Find out who a good attorney is. I'll go talk to him. I'm like, all right, cool. Go back. Who knows who good attorneys are? The guys in jail. They know who all the...
Right.
I go back and ask them, who's a good attorney? They're like, Craig Williams, which he was a phenomenal attorney. So my buddy comes back to visit. I'm like, go talk to Craig Williams. He goes and talks to him, hires him, pays for it. Pays for the attorney. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And what's crazy is this guy, how I met him was when I was doing remodeling work, I had like an ad in the paper. He just called me randomly. They lived in a mobile home trailer. They had plenty of money. Mm-hmm. They just lived out in the country on some acres in a mobile home trailer. He spent like 25, 30 grand on this single wide trailer just in me remodeling, like doing some new shit. I don't know, building a deck on the front, on the back, some carpet, flooring, like just build a house.
Right.
It was weird. Really good dude though. So he pays for the attorney. They get on my case. They get the motion of discovery. They're coming to see me frequently. There was 2 attorneys, Craig and Shelley. And they're like, dude, we got this beat. It's not a problem. But they have, on my motion of discovery, there's 110 people that over the years they spoke to. So it's 110 people they got to go through, Right. So I'm going to court for like 2.5 years, just going to court back and forth. They won't give me a bond. I'm like, this dude's a flight risk.
Right. Well, obviously.
There's no argument. Yeah, I can't even argue with that. So 2.5 years going to court. It's a big ass headache. County jail sucks.
Did they find your fake ID when they grabbed you? Or
not that one.
Okay. Not that one.
When they found that counterfeit money,
yeah,
the bag of it, they found one of my IDs with that bag.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything for that, but
no, I understand. But still, I was going to say that's even one more reason not to give you any kind of bond, no matter what.
Oh, but
it's got fake IDs.
I did get arrested on another in between all this.
Yeah, right.
I was on my motorcycle. This is all right. So before they put the warrant out, this is a couple months before. I'm going from Carolina to Florida, and I was, it's called lane splitting, where you go between the cars.
Yeah. So
I'm doing like 110 on the stripe. Not that fast, just 100 miles, 110, right? California, where I live, you can do that shit all day.
Right.
You're allowed to lane split. Over there, you're not. Carolina. So I'm going between the cars, and there's a cop in the median. I'm like, damn it. So I jump over real quick. I don't know if he's seen me or not, but I'm like, if he comes after me, I'm doing 110 lane in between cars. I'm going to jail probably.
Right.
Reckless driving. So here he comes. I'm like, God damn it. You got to catch me. So I hit the emergency lane, take off. But I ended up, so I'm headed South Carolina. Ended up at like mile marker 5, which is 5 miles to Georgia. So I'm like running out of highway. Mm-hmm. Because if you try to cross into the state line, they're going to throw a strip out, And there's already a bunch of them like coming up ahead of me, like trying to cut me off.
Right.
So I get off at exit 5. I turn right. And when you go, I've never been down there before. When you go down that road, it like comes to a T stop, you know, that road ends. Now you can turn left or right.
Right.
I turn right. It's just a little 2-lane road. That 2-lane road goes all the way back to the county jail.
Okay.
So I'm headed down this 2-lane road, like flying down it, going around cars, in between cars. Cops are trying to run me off in the ditch. And finally, like when I'm ahead of them, I'm like, I'm going to crash. Like I came close to crashing a few times. If you crash doing like 150, 170, it's over with, right? I'm still trying to live. So I ditched a motorcycle, run into the woods. Ran for about 2 hours into the woods. And dude, it was like wintertime, freezing, ran through a bunch of water. Like it's miserable. But I get way into the woods. I did have a cell phone with me at the time, right? I get way into the woods and the helicopter's out too. It never spotted me, but I could hear it circling around. There's a pine tree that so the pine tree fell and the base of it was kind of up in the air still. And I got up underneath there and like covered myself with pine straw. And I called a friend of mine on the cell phone and told him where I was at. He's like, all right, I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't think I could call anybody. If I called Colby and said, hey, listen, man, the cops are following me. Can you come get me? He'd be like, oh, no, brother, I got 2 kids and a wife. It's your problem.
Yeah. No, this is a good friend of mine. He's dead too now.
Jeez.
So he's coming to get me, right? But it's a couple hours, 2.5 hours from Jacksonville. And so I'm laying under that tree.
Right.
And finally I hear a cowbell dinging. Like ding, 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 ding. It was the dog, canine dog. Mm. And they don't see me. Now the cops have caught up with the dog and the dog's going crazy. They leash the dog. You know, they're holding him and they're screaming, where are you at? Come out. We know you're in there. The dog, we're going to release the dog. I'm like, fuck. If they release the dog, the bitch is going to chew your ass up. I'm like, hey, you got me. I put my hand down from under the tree. So they arrest me. They're like, dude, you, what'd they say? Were you in the military? I was like, nah. He was like, man, you were so hard to find. I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to get away. Nothing to do with the military. I'm just trying to get away from you guys. So he carried me back out of there, take me to jail. We go to court. So it was weird too. It was the only court that I've ever been to where the judge, I think she was called a magistrate. She's sitting at like a desk, like what we're sitting at right now, instead of like up on a bench. She's sitting, like I'm standing above her. And she's like, son, you're the talk of the town. I'm like, oh, great. She said, I'm going to have to set you a high bond. You don't have an ID because I didn't have ID with me. She said, you don't have any ties to our town. And so she was going to set me a high bond, and, running from the cops, right? She said $5,000, which is 10%. I'm like, oh, lady, you just messed up. Right. But I was under a fake name.
Really?
Yeah.
But they took your fingerprints. They just didn't match.
They didn't have digital. So when they take it was a small town. They did the card. They got to send that card to a whole nother county.
Listen, what year was this?
2003.
2003. So I've been, do you know how many times that, like and I've told people this over and over again. I had a friend that was a sheriff's deputy, and exactly what you just told me is exactly what he had told me. And when I was on the run with this chick, I used to say, she'd be like, what if you get arrested? I go, if I get arrested, I'll get arrested. And I had an ID, I've had many IDs, that was issued. I would go in the DMV and they'd give me an ID. Like I'd survey a homeless guy, get his information, order his birth certificate, social security card, register to vote in his name, and go to a state where he didn't have an ID. I'd get an ID, and she was always like, well, you're wanted. They have your finger up. You don't understand. If they arrest you, because this is what I've been told by my buddy who was a sheriff's deputy with Hillsborough County. This was back in, by the way, this was in 2003 to 2006. I was like, if I get arrested, I'll have an ID. So if your identity isn't in question, I go, they don't run they don't run you against APHIS right away. He used to say, because the federal government at that time charged him. He would say, if your identity is not in question, he goes, they don't even run it. He goes, because you got an ID issued by the state. And he's like, if it's not in question, we don't even run it. He goes, worst case scenario, if it is, he's like, sometimes they do them in batches. They take the card and everything, and then he said they'll scan it and they'll send off. He goes, but that might not be for a month. Mm-hmm. He's like, so I said, I can be arrested, processed, and have bail set and get out before they ever, if ever, run it. And I've had people text me, that's not true. They would know immediately. They'll run your fingerprints. I was like, bro, this was before all that. So anyway, I love that you just said that because that's what I had thought I'd been told. And when I got arrested, I was told by cops when I was arrested, yeah, bro, he's like, if you had a driver's license, they may never run it, especially in a small town because they charge them.
Right.
So anyway, I'm sorry.
That's exactly what it was.
Just wanted to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I knew I was right. I knew I was right.
Finally, somebody confirmed it. Yeah, so they ran it on the paper,
right?
The card, right?
Yeah, they did a little.
Yeah, roll your fingerprints. Yeah. All right. And that same, as soon as they gave me my friend was already coming up there, right? He still came. And when they gave, he knew what to do. He went and found out how much my bond was, paid it. Mm-hmm. A few hours later, I'm out of there. I was already looking at the jail like, I think I can get out of here. It's a little bitty jail. Like, you can probably knock a wall down and get out of here. But my buddy bonded me out under somebody else's name.
Right.
So the guy's name that I was under was him and I, we were like drug dealing partners back in the day.
Right.
That both said, oh, we need to start a business. So we started a paint company, but registered it at my house. And so all our information came back to my house.
Right.
So I had all his info.
And that's how you got the driver's license or the ID.
No, I didn't. Yeah, no, I didn't even have the ID. I just had his shit memorized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and never really planned to do that.
Right.
Until like things started changing toward the end, like when the cops started to chase me a little bit, or I had a feeling they were. So I memorized his information, but I would not have used his information. But when I went to jail in '98 for the Celtic White, he prior to me getting sentenced, like while I was out on bond, he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll take care of your girl while you're gone."
Right.
And I thought it was a joke.
Right.
It wasn't a joke.
Oh, okay.
So when I found out, I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna get you." I called him when I found out. This is before I got my warrant for my arrest. I called him. I said, "Look, I'm already probably gonna go to prison forever. We're just gonna add you to the list." So I'm on my way down there.
Right.
He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. He called the cops on me. Said I was on my way to kill him.
But you never went?
No, I was going until he called the cops. When he called the cops, I'm like, dude, we don't do that.
Right.
You're calling the cops, just handle whatever like a man, like, you know? But so, yeah, that derailed my plan. I'm calling the cops.
So you got out.
Yeah.
You got on the first one. Now so when they grabbed you on the second one, you're still locked up on the second charge.
Which one? What is it now?
The one where the murder charge.
Oh, yeah,
you gotten out.
Hold on, but let me tell you what. So I get out on that bond, right? Just for whatever it was, reckless driving or something. I hire an attorney and get him put on probation.
Oh,
the guy whose fake name that I used, they put him on probation.
Which you violate, right?
Yeah, I don't do none of this stuff. I'm supposed to do community service, donate food. Obviously, I'm not going to go do any of that.
Right.
They end up arresting him.
Right.
And that's when they found out the prints didn't match.
Okay.
But when they end up arresting him, I'm already arrested for the first degree murder.
Right.
And so they're like, "You want to press charges on him?" He's like, "Nah, he's already in enough trouble."
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool for him.
Right.
we're friends now too.
Oh, okay. That's a decent thing you did there at the end.
Yeah. So yeah, now I'm back in the county jail. Where were we at?
You were so they gave you the new lawyer that the paralegal saying, no good. You got to get a lawyer. And then your buddy came in and had paid for a new lawyer. Got the lawyer. What happened with the lawyer?
Well, I'm going to court for 2.5 years, but there's 110 people on that discovery, right? So they got to question all those people, see which ones are relevant to the case. Mm-hmm. So it's taking time, right? At 2.5 year point, the attorney calls me to court. I didn't even know I had court. It was just like a surprise court date. And they offered me manslaughter. But at this time, now I'm studying the case. Like, I know what I'm actually guilty of. Leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. I'm not guilty of manslaughter, vehicular homicide. I'm not guilty of that. So, no, I'm not taking that deal. So they offered me that. And I said, no, I'm not taking it. They offered it my attorney. Mm-hmm. My attorney tells me, I said, no. That was it. Go back. Next morning, they called me to court again, like a surprise court date. and because I didn't accept the charge, they amended my charges, and they added on 2nd-degree murder. They added on the manslaughter and attempted murder. No, they added, what it was they had me for 2nd-degree murder now, attempted murder on the guy that ran in front of me, and then leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. So now I got 3 charges, and they said I got to go to trial on all 3. So I'm like, hey, I'll take that manslaughter deal.
Right.
You're not going to beat all 3.
Well, I was going to say they're going to, the juries, if they can't prove, they know they can't prove this one, they can't prove that one, the jury's eventually going to find you guilty of the lower sentence.
Yeah. And because you went to trial.
Yeah,
and
you're going to get the max.
Yeah.
You get what, 15?
15.
Yeah.
Except if they found you guilty of attempted murder on the brother.
Right. Florida's
life. You can get life.
The attempted murder of the brother, he ran in front of the vehicle.
But it doesn't matter. You're arrested.
Right.
Right. In front of a jury.
Yeah.
They're going to bring up my past, which my arrest record is 1,000,000 miles long, all type of crazy shit. This is a no-win.
Right. So and you've already got a year or 2 years in.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
So how much, what is that? That's not 15 though. They saying the low end?
At the beginning, they said take manslaughter 0 to 15. When I said no, the day before.
Yeah.
When they called me back and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Now they changed it 5 to 15. Present your case to the judge.
Right.
Not jurors, but to the judge. So when I took the deal, me and my attorney get to present the case. The prosecutor presents their case. Right.
What kind of judge is it?
He's dead, by the way.
Okay. I don't think there's too many people that are
He's
deceased.
Dead now.
You've outlived a ton of people.
Yeah. He, I don't know. Like, I wanted to interview him, like now, years later.
Right.
Just to ask him, like, why did you come up with the decision that you came up with?
Right.
Because it was extremely clear that what happened was an accident. Like, the bailiffs that work in court every day.
Yeah.
They had been telling me, they're like, dude, when they started seeing all the evidence, because, the court dates leading up to us presenting the case,
yeah,
you don't see the evidence. Now, these 3 days where we're presenting the evidence, the bailiffs are like, dude, if he can't see that's an accident, he doesn't need to be a judge.
Right.
They don't have any reason to be on my side.
Yeah.
They're just hearing the evidence. The 3 days of that he gave us to present the case, on the last, I think it was the last day, the last person that came up to testify about the family's reputation in the neighborhood, there was this big picture, like on an easel, that was turned around backwards. It was just like a white board. I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
Nobody knew. My attorney didn't tell anybody what he was doing. That last person testified. He got up, didn't say anything, walked up to the easel, turned it around. There's a dude laying there dead. A big picture.
Right.
His whole side of the family, courtroom, that guy, the dead guy, his whole family jumped up screaming. They're like, we're going to fucking kill you. One of them ran and jumped over the middle.
Right.
Like trying to get me.
Right.
Hit a cop, bailiff, punched one, kicked one in the nuts and bit one. Not the sister that caused all of it, but another sister, an older sister. The whole family's like screaming, trying to fight. The judge is banging on the thing. He locked the door. Dude, they grabbed that lady that jumped the thing, slammed her on the ground, choked her, drug her out of took her to jail. Pure mayhem.
Right.
So then when it's all done, everything's presented. And in the whole time, during that time, everything the prosecutor was presenting, dude, he sounded like a fucking bumbling idiot. Like, if I would have known how, inexperienced or just how bad he was going to sound, I probably just would have went to trial on everything, because this dude was terrible. But my attorney was really good. So at the very end, when everything's done, the judge calls me, he calls you in front of the court, right? And he says, it's clear to the court. The court is a judge, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's clear to the court what happened was an accident. Had you went to trial, no criminal jury would find you guilty. So you hearing that, what does that mean?
It means you're going to get 5 years. You're there on 5 to...
No, what does this mean?
Well,
no criminal jury would find you guilty.
It sounds like you're innocent.
Yeah.
But you've pled guilty.
I pled guilty, yeah.
From 5 to 15. So he has to give you, to me, he knows you're innocent. He should give you 5 years.
Right.
Because that's the lowest he can go, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
He said, but because you didn't tell us what happened.
You didn't say but. You left the but out.
Yeah. Well, here's the but part.
Right.
But when he said that to me, I'm like, I see it. Everybody in the court sees it. I'm glad he sees it. He just said what happened was an accident. If you would have went to trial, no criminal jury would find you guilty. And then he said, but because you didn't tell us what happened, I'm going to give you 10 years to think about it.
Holy fuck off.
He just sentenced me 10 years to think about something.
Yeah.
At that point, remember, it was from 2000. They didn't arrest me for 3 years. I sat in here for 2.5 years. I'm like, you fuck. I'm sitting here already 5.5 years thinking about it. I'm going to think about it for the rest of my life. I don't need to sit in prison for 10 years to think about it. What does that even mean? Mm-hmm. To think about it? That's not why you sentence people. Not only that, like we know, like I took the plea deal.
Right.
I took the plea deal. But when a judge knows for sure you're innocent and says it in court, you're innocent, it's illegal to sentence you for that crime.
Okay.
But I took the plea deal. Later, when I got to prison, you get around all the prison
the legal
attorneys.
Yeah.
That's when I found out that it's actually illegal to sentence you. But because I took that plea deal, I couldn't take it back.
There's no recourse.
No.
You don't have like a year or two. No, because you pled guilty. Okay.
I pled guilty. Yeah.
Never mind. So 10 years, how much do you do? Like 85% in Florida?
Florida's
right?
85. Yeah. 8.5 years.
You've done 2.5. So you still got
6.
Fuck, you still got 6 years to go.
Yeah.
Does halfway house cut into the 6 years? No. Yes. Yeah, it should.
Florida state time doesn't have a halfway house.
God, that sucks.
Yeah.
So you got 6 years to go.
Yeah.
On vehicle. Is that like, do they consider, like how harsh is that? Like what kind of a prison do you have to go to?
You don't have to go to maximum.
Okay.
You start out like at, everybody that comes in goes to a reception.
Right.
And then they classify you, and then you just work your way down from there. Mm-hmm. But you start out at the higher end, and then you just work your way down. There's people, like if you're driving on suspended license, mm-hmm. I know a guy that got 5 years for that, but he was habitual. You still start out at the high point and work your way down.
That's
you
horrible.
Can end up on minimum. I ended up on minimum security. I left
After
from
how long?
Year and a half.
Okay. 2
years maybe. But the day when he sentenced me, I'm like, I'm not doing 10 years. You're tripping. There's no way I'm going to do it. And not thinking like I'm going to hurt myself, because like I had a friend of mine tattooed this little name on my arm. He got life, and he's like, bro, I'm not doing life. I'll kill myself. He was not kidding. Like this dude would do all type of crazy stuff in the jail. Like just this is a whole nother story. But one day, like I choked him unconscious just wrestling. And when he woke up, he's like, have you ever been unconscious?
No.
When you wake
Not
up, you're like,
unconscious.
You're like,
right.
It's a weird feeling. And so when he woke up, he's like, dude, choke me again and don't let go. Kill me. I'm like, dude, no thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. He ended up he himself in prison. Yeah.
Fuck.
So no, I wasn't thinking that type of thing, right? But I'm thinking, I'm getting the fuck out of here one way or another. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm leaving here. And not when you release me. And so, most people, when they're getting off the bus, they're trying to fit into the prison system. Mm-hmm. They're trying to like join a gang or like hang out with their buddies, run around, do drugs, chase punks around,
right.
all the bullshit. I'm looking at like, one, I don't run around with a group of people.
Right.
But I'm like, okay, how can I get out of here? That's all I'm looking for. Initially, when I got there, I'm like, there's no way to get out of this.
This is the reception center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real high security there. And then even when I get to the medium next door, it's still like really high security.
Right.
But then, so I got a job working in the barbershop. Working in the barbershop, you get to meet like the officers come by there all the time. The maintenance people come by. So then I get put on a maintenance crew just from like knowing people and stuff, right? When I get put on the maintenance crew, I get to go everywhere. Like my boss was a civilian boss, but he was lifetime corrections, right? So he worked in corrections for like probably 40 something years, I think, before he retired. And when he retired, he just came to work as a civilian maintenance boss. And like it's his whole life. That's all he wanted to do is be at the prison.
Right.
But he was actually a really cool old guy. He's like the only person my entire time that treated me he treated me like a person, never like a prisoner. Mm-hmm. Really cool guy. It kind of sucks too because I just found this out today. This is the first time I told this. Like when I was planning my whole escape, the only thing I've like second guessed was like my boss. Like I would feel bad. Like escaping because I'm working for him.
Yeah, it's going to look bad on him.
Yeah. And that was the only thing I second guessed was like him, because I really like the dude.
So you just said you felt bad. You said you felt bad, but you said you just found out.
I found out today when I was driving here. His grandson messaged me last night. He's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I used to come to the maintenance building. They called him Papa Gene. His name was Mr. Griffiths, and he's like, yeah, I'm his grandson. I don't know if you remember me. Like his whole family was corrections, right? I'm like, yeah, I remember you. So on the way here, I was messaging the guy. I was like, how is he, by the way? He's like, oh, he died 2 years ago. Yeah. So like hindsight or whatever, regret, like, I always wanted to reach out to that guy and just apologize, because I genuinely felt bad about it.
Right.
But I was always like, man, I don't want to face it. Right. He's probably going to be like, well, you little, he would be pissed off.
Right. Did he lose his job or anything?
No.
No. Okay.
No, you couldn't, there's no taking that guy's job.
Okay.
But,
fine.
Huh?
It was fine then.
His grandson told me, he's like, you know what, even after you escaped, he always talked highly of you. I was like, oh, that was good to know.
All right.
Yeah. So
you're on the main, sorry.
Yeah. So what were we at? You're working for?
Yeah, I go to work on the maintenance crew, right?
Are you you're all over you said you were going all over the place, but are you going outside of the prison?
Yeah. So the prison that I'm at is 3 prisons. You got reception, like the medical center. It's on a huge compound of property, right? So you got reception, you got the West unit, and then you got the work camp. So initially I was at the main unit, then I went to reception. I went from there to the West unit. That's where I got the job as the barber. And then from there, once I got put on maintenance, I got moved to the work camp. And so it was when I was on the work camp that I was really going, like, I would just get on the golf cart and go from camp to camp with him. We're always on prison grounds, but you're going from...
But there's no fence all the way.
Yeah, there's no fence.
All the way? Okay. No. So you could go straight into the woods. Right?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Okay.
But there's thousands of acres of their woods. Like,
right.
Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
You got to get a vehicle to get out of there.
No, I know. But I mean, it sounds to me like you pretty much could have been arranging that for your entire life of having to call in somebody saying, hey, pick me up.
Yeah. No, I was already thinking I was going to steal one of their vehicles.
Okay.
I got to get out of here. So working in maintenance, though, it let me see how all their perimeter shit works. The shift changes, like a lot of times I don't have to be in at shift change because I'm at work, So I got to see all the stuff like I really shouldn't have been seeing.
Right.
And especially with him being my boss, like nobody ever questioned him. He could go where he wants, when he wants. I'm going in like security areas I'm not supposed to be in. Like I get to see everything. And, but during this time, there was a female guard that came to work at the work camp in my dorm. And one day when they called me for visit, so I don't know how it worked where you was at, and when they call you to visit, or any movement outside the dorm, you have to get a pass from the officer station, right? Okay. So the lady calls my name for visit. And when I go up to get my pass, she's got her hand on the pass. Like she's in an officer station with like a block cut out where you, like, the booth where you get stuff there. And she's holding her hand on the pass. And I'm like, what are you doing? Right. I'm trying to go to visit. She's like, I seen you over there getting ready. Like, what? What are you talking about? You're watching me get ready? It's kind of weird. I'm like, I grabbed a pass. I'm like, I ain't got time for this shit. I got to go. So I get my pass and go to visit. Totally ignore what she just said. But the reason why is like that prison, there's a lot of females that work there because like the medical center, friends of mine were always chasing the women. Right. But you always get caught. Yeah. Even if you're not just caught red-handedly, somebody's telling because there's jealous people. Yeah. Right. So it never lasts. And I would tell my friends, I'm like, you're stupid. You're going to get messed up. Like you're either getting beat up, transferred, or worse. Right. Right. And I'm like, I would never get caught like that. And so when I ignored her, she just started pushing even more. Yeah. Like trying to make small talk. And she'd come out there, shake my locker down, like trying to make small talk. I can get up and walk away. I'm not listening to none of this. And so one day when I'm coming back from chow, not from chow, but from work, I'm walking past the chow hall. She was outside behind the chow hall. If they say, hey, inmate, that's everybody. Yeah. You just keep walking. You guys keep walking. If they call your name, oh, shit. She calls my name. The officer that I'm talking about. Yeah, I kept ignoring. She calls my name. She's outside the back of the chow hall. I'm like, damn. I got to walk over here to her, and she's got a bag in her hand. She said, "You want some biscuits?" I'm like, "Do I look like I eat biscuits?" Like at the time, I'm doing nothing but working out. I'm in really good shape, especially for a white guy on the compound.
Right.
Most of the white guys are not in good shape.
I'd still eat a biscuit, bro. Like it's a biscuit.
It was
a free world biscuit.
No. She's standing outside the chow hall with a brown bag.
Okay. So it's from the chow hall?
That's what I thought. But then she said, "They're Hardee's biscuits." I was like, "Hardee's biscuits?" I'm like, "Give me the bag." Still not being friendly. Right. She gave me the bag and I left. I didn't say thank you, nothing. I'm like, "I'm out of here." Dude, I'm over here eating the biscuits. I'm sharing them with my bunkie. Mm-hmm. And while I'm eating the biscuit, I'm like, dude, she just risked her entire career. Like, that's a jailable offense.
Yeah.
She just risked her entire career. I didn't ask. What is she going to do if I do ask?
Right.
And then I just press the gas from there. Everything I asked, there was never a no.
What does this chick look like, bro?
You want me to show you what she looks like?
Yeah.
So there's street.
Oh, I understand. We would do the whole, that's a prison 8. You know what I'm saying? That's a street 4, that's a prison 8, or that's a street 5, that's a prison 9.
Yeah, you know.
Well, she's not bad looking at all.
No.
What are you talking about?
That's like a prison 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's you gotta show Colby.
Well, and this is not a good picture.
Yeah, that looks like a driver's license photo.
It's not a good picture. I think that's when she got arrested. So that's not on the compound. She's coming to work, especially at this point, trying to look pretty.
Yeah.
All the dudes are shooting at her.
Right.
And dude, when I started paying attention and like just started asking for things, like talking to her, spending time and shit, like there was never a no. Never. Like I got my bunk moved, like from the back of the dorm to the front, to where like when I'm in my bunk, you can see straight into the officer station. Mm-hmm. So I can tell her like sign language, like people are tattooing, doing whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want to do in here. Mm-hmm. She's going to flash the lights if anybody's coming. It's like we can do whatever we want in this dorm, right? And like, you know, people are making buck drinking. I never drink, not that shit, right? So one day I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get her to bring some vodka. I tell her to take the water bottle, you know, at home, take the water bottle and drill a hole in the bottom. Just a little small drill bit and hold it upside down, let all the water drain. You know, there's no air flowing through there. It's just dripping. It takes forever for that water to come out. Dude, she would drain the whole bottle and fill it with vodka, like make a little small funnel,
right? And
then hot glue the bottom. And when the first day she brought him to work, dude, I was so drunk, like miserably drunk. Like when you open my locker, there's nothing but water bottles in here. Like, I got so drunk that I'm in the corner where my bunk is at, just running my mouth, calling the whole dorm out, like I'm a tough guy right now, right? And I'm so drunk, or you could just push me over.
Right.
Like, there's really no fight. You just push me over.
Do these other guys know that you're messing with her, or are you?
I'm not telling anybody. Only my bunkie, right? And my bunkie.
Are they feeling it?
Oh, they feel it.
Okay.
Yeah, they all feel it, and they're writing kites.
These fucking dicks.
You know they're going to, right?
Right.
So they're writing kites because my boss, the old man who I told you about, came to me. He said, "I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing with her, you better cut it out because they're fixing to do something to you." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Like I'm playing dumb with him. Yeah, they knew. They were getting on to it. But that day when I got drunk,
right,
I remember we were sitting on the bunk and like I had like 4 or 5 pair of shoes. Like, you're only supposed to have like 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
But all my shoes are lined up on the wall over there, and my bunkie's got 1 pair of Rydell's. Like he's not financially doing shit.
Right.
And I remember like just randomly, I'm like, dude, if I get sick, I'm throwing up in the Rydell's. He's like, what? Those are mine. He's drunk too. Like me, him, and a couple other dudes are all drunk over here, right? And somehow, for some reason, I got sick.
You puked in his shoes?
I filled his whole shoe up. He's like, dude. It was so funny. Like ridiculous, dumb, but funny. You're just in here doing dumb things, you know? And I remember like when I threw up in the shoe, he hit me. Like, not hurt me, but he's like, dude, you threw up in my shoe. I'm like, don't worry about it. You can have my Nikes. So when I started throwing up, I could not stop throwing up. I threw up for hours. Like, I'm not really throwing up nothing. Now I'm dry heaving. I'm slobbering.
Right.
And it's just like so painful, like violent, sick.
Yeah.
And so you get 3 uniforms per week.
And you can't go to medical.
You can't go nowhere.
No.
You got to deal with it.
Right.
You get 3 uniforms for the whole week because they do laundry once a week.
Right.
I threw up on all my uniforms. I'm sitting on the toilet naked. Like I don't even have the power to bend over the toilet no more. I threw up all on the sinks. And my friend is a houseman in there. He's like cleaning up all behind me. He's like the happy little houseman. He's cleaning up, throw up with no problem. That was a good friend. So I'm sitting on the toilet naked and throw up's going down in front of me. Mm-hmm. And she's standing in front of me crying. The officer. And the whole dorm's in here.
Yeah.
And she's standing there crying. She said, I got to get you out of here. I'm like,
I would think she'd be like, this guy's a fucking maniac.
She should have.
Yeah. So is that the first time you thought?
I had already been considering it,
right,
but not really put it into action.
Yeah.
But that really like changed my thinking. Like I was already.
What time do you have?
About that time, 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you got that chunk of time.
Not enough to escape, but enough in my head.
Yeah, I was going to say it, but still, that 5 years is for most people. That's if you give somebody a 5-year sentence, like if you gave me a 5-year sentence, I'd be like, yeah.
It was 2007. I got out in 2012. What it would have been? Mm-hmm. Was that 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's 5 years.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, you got to get me out of here,
right?
Okay, let me come up with a plan.
Right.
So at some point, I had her get a wireless internet card.
Right.
This is way before like typical Wi-Fi, right? 2003. But in maintenance, we had a computer that was it was not my bunkie. The guy that worked with me, he ended up being my co-defendant that escaped with me, but he slept at the bunk across from me. He had the inmate computer where he done all the file work for the maintenance building. But my bunkie, that dude's like computer genius. He downloaded a whole nother operating system on the computer when we got that wireless internet card, so that when like we were looking anything up on the internet, if anybody came, he could just, I don't know what the sequence was or what the buttons were. He hits the buttons and it just flips back to the other operating system, like he's sitting there doing maintenance work, And what we started looking up was countries that don't extradite back to America. There's like 20 something countries. The Rome Treaty.
Though I don't know but I understand non-extradition countries. Yeah. I don't know what the Rome Treaty is. There's
a treaty called the Rome Treaty that America gets other countries. They pay them to sign the treaty, saying we can come into your country to get our fugitives. At the time, there was like 20-something countries that didn't extradite, no matter what your charge was. Mm-hmm. Guatemala being the closest one by land. You don't have to go overseas. Guatemala bound. God. But so back it up a little bit. When we got that wireless internet card, again, my bunkie, this like supercomputer genius guy, he had been telling me, this is before Amazon blew up, that he was making money on eBay, buying stuff from China, reselling it, like audio equipment. And so when we started looking on the computer, he's like, dude, these phones, it was like before the iPhone came out. The smartphone back there then was like a Nokia N73. He's like, dude, we can get these phones from China for like whatever, dirt cheap. But they were selling for a lot over here. So we started ordering the phones, sending them to the officer's house, the lady that was helping me, and they're reselling them on eBay. So at the time, I'm making money from it. And I'm like, all right, if I go to Guatemala, I can keep selling my cell phones or whatever. Right. You don't need a lot of money to live in Guatemala. Yeah. At least I'm free. And then, so we find where to get fake birth certificates, fake IDs. They come up with the whole plan, right? And when I come up with the whole plan, and I knew at this point, this lady's not saying no to anything. When I come in from work one day, I go to the officer's station. I'm like, I'm going to escape. Just put it bluntly, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, what? I was like, look, there's 3 options. 1, you help me. 2, I'll go by myself. You won't ever see me again. Or 3, go turn me in.
Right.
What's it going to be? She's like, you're going to get me put in prison. I said, you're not going to be in prison. We're going to be in paradise. Here's the plan. She put her head down and started crying. She said, what do I got to do?
Oh my God. This is horrible. I have a question. Have you had sex with this chick? Is this just so far?
There was, we did things.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Do you know what a white dragon is?
Yeah. No. No, I don't know what the white dragon is.
Do you know what a white dragon is? You got to Google it.
Okay.
I read this in a magazine. You know, everybody's got magazines in there.
Uh-huh.
GQ and all the other magazines. Yeah. What were they back then? GQ was like one of the main ones, right? It's basically when they're giving you a blowjob.
Right.
Can we say that on here?
Yeah.
And right when you go to come,
right,
you tickle them.
Right.
They choke and it's like blowing out their nose and everything. That happened once.
Right. Yeah. So, boy, this chick's all in, huh?
All in. There was a point where I felt like if I said bring guns and ammunition, we're killing everybody and leaving.
Right.
She would have said okay.
Wow.
For sure.
Okay. So
for sure. So she comes to work during the time of the plan, right? So we got to get IDs, we got to get birth certificates. We're already making money online. She comes to work with a blue cloth in her lunch pail, like hidden down at the bottom. We tape it up in the bathroom and like a fake shirt from the street. Put the shirt on, tape the blue thing. You know, now you don't need a background. You could just take a picture and they could change the background. Yeah. But back then we taped up the blue background for the ID. Got the IDs made. She had them made online. Mm-hmm. Got the IDs made, birth certificate. I got an airline ticket from Atlanta, Georgia to San Diego. Because when you get to San Diego, you just walk across the border. Walk across the border and hopefully make it to Guatemala. At that time, I didn't care. You know,
right.
Like, whatever. At least I'm free.
You're just trying to get into Mexico and then
go to Guatemala. Yeah. So we do all that, come up with all the IDs. And then so what she had to do was bring a officer uniform, the whole uniform, the BDUs, the zip up jacket with the big fur on it, the hat, the whole thing, sunglasses, to my work at maintenance. To the maintenance building, right? So she was like, okay, cool. She brings it. I get dressed right underneath a guard tower. So when they're looking out of their guard towers, they're always looking out.
Right.
They're
not walking up going.
No, I got dressed right at the base of the guard tower, like outside in a trash pile. There's like a trash pile for maintenance that's got a bunch of metal and stuff. I'm laying in there getting dressed. And when I got up and walked out of there, dude, I had a co-defendant that left with me. We walked right past two officers that knew us. Like they're in a conversation and we walk right past them.
Didn't say shit.
Nothing.
And you would think that there's not a ton of officers. They all know each other.
There's a bunch of this prison.
There is?
There's like 7 prisons right around here.
I mean,
there's
did they
a
ever
bunch
look
of
up
housing.
To see you or they
didn't pay no attention.
Just
walk right past them.
Did you shave your face? Did you do anything?
You had to be shaved. You're always shaved.
Oh, okay.
You had to be clean shaved every day. But I had the hat on pulled down. I had big sunglasses and their jacket because it was like Thanksgiving time.
Right.
So it was cold. I had the big jacket with the fur on the collar and I had it pulled up and zipped up, you know, walked right past them. They didn't even stop talking, looking at us at all. If they would have known.
Right.
Like, hey, what the? We get in her vehicle, the chick.
Yeah.
Like she's right outside the maintenance building. She drove a white Expedition. I don't know where she got it from, but it blended in with all the white prison vehicles.
Right.
And so she drove that. We get in the vehicle. We still got to get off prison grounds. When we get in the truck, she pulls out a big pistol, like out of the console. She said, if we get stopped, don't get out. I'll take care of it. Hold on. Maybe we should not leave.
She's a fucking gangster.
Yeah.
So
I was like, we did not come here to kill cops.
Right.
Luckily that didn't happen. So we leave, right? And the plan was when we left that morning, she was going to a doctor's appointment, like right down the road from where she was from.
Right.
And then a buddy of mine was going to pick me up in that area to take me to Atlanta to the airport.
And is she going back to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's going to work. Her alibi was she was at the doctor. When I call my buddy, we're riding down the road. We're gone. We're off prison grounds.
Right.
I'll call my friend. I'm like, hey, bro, you going to be there? He's like, I can't come. I'm like, what? He said, my kid's in the hospital. I'm like, oh, you're kidding. I'm like, okay, it's your kid. I get it.
Yeah.
But dude, I just escaped.
Yeah.
I can't turn around and just go back. I was just kidding. You know?
Right.
I'm like, damn it. So he's like, just go with he told me to go with his little brother. I'm like, dude, I don't even know your little brother. He's like, it's cool. Just go with him.
You don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, there's no other options. Except when she's hearing this, she's like, don't worry about it. Fuck it. I'll just go with you. I'm like, no, because that was never the plan.
Right.
She doesn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
There's never a plan of her really coming.
Right.
So I'm like, no. Stick to the plan. And so when I go meet this kid, dude, as soon as we're riding down the road, he's like, oh man, I hope I don't get in no trouble. I don't want to get caught for this. Now we're riding, we got correctional officer uniforms on, right?
Right.
We look like police in this little small town riding around. Nobody knows I'm with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, relax, chill. When we're driving, we're going to where he worked at, which was a farm. No houses, all farmland, just out in the middle of the country. And while we're driving, we go over this little bridge. And I remember it was early in the morning, looking out the driver's side, I seen the sun coming up over the water because we're crossing over a river. And so we get to this farm where that comes up later. The sun.
Okay.
When we get to the farm, this kid is still acting fucking weird. And I'm just like, man, I don't know about this. Like being out here waiting on the other guy to come. Like I'm gonna call.
How young is this kid?
Early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. And so his brother, I knew 3 of his brothers, never met him. His 3 brothers were in the county jail with me during that 2.5 years while I was there. They went to jail for, it was a federal charge. They went to trial. 2 of them lost. 1 of them went home on a federal trial. And they always said they had a little brother, but they didn't mess with him. So I'm like, you sent me with a little brother y'all don't even mess with. But so my phone went dead that I brought with me. So the kid, he's driving the tractor around. I go jump on the tractor. I'm like, hey man, let me use your phone. Cause I'm gonna call the chick like, hey, come and get me. I don't like being here with this kid. I'm feeling bad about it. Like something's wrong. But the dude doesn't want to let me use the phone. I'm like, dude, let me use the phone or I'm gonna have to take the phone. It's like, there's no option. Just give me the fucking phone. So he gives me the phone, but he had already called the cops.
Why would you come? Why come pick you up if you're going to call the cops? Like if you're not going to go through with it, why?
Why? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Just to tell your brother, fuck you. I'm not going to pick up a couple of guys. Like, I'm sorry. That's a pretty good reason.
Yeah, a great reason.
Yeah. You're not asking me to, change the tire on a car or something. Yeah. This is a big fucking deal. Okay. So he called the cops.
He calls the cops. But the crazy part is these are Mexican guys, right? Mm-hmm. He don't have paper.
Right.
And you just called the cops after you just helped somebody escape.
Right.
He got deported.
Right.
I don't know whatever happened to him, but I do know he got deported. I'm not mad at that kid.
Yeah.
Like, I involved him in some shit that he should have never been involved in. But you should have just said no. Yeah. He got deported.
Right.
You little idiot. So I called the chick and she said, I know where you're at. It'll take me like 45 minutes to get there.
Right.
But we go back to the back of the farm in the tree line.
Right. Like
way in the back. And while we're sitting there waiting on her, I see an unmarked cop car come down the road. There's no houses. There's no people down there. It's all farmland.
Right. And
I tell my buddy who's with me, I'm like, bro, there's the cops. He's like, oh, it's not a cop. Then I see the K-9 truck from the prison. My friends worked on the K-9 crew. Like the inmates that they sent out in the woods and let them chase around. I was like, bro, that's K-9. Like, I've been running from cops forever. This dude came from a family that his parents were like land developers in Jacksonville. His uncle's a mayor. They're all like real well-off people.
Right.
He just got mixed up in some bullshit and went to prison.
Right.
Never been like, he's the guy that sells yachts now.
Okay.
Yeah. So he doesn't, the whole running from the cops thing's not registering with him. I'm like, bro, let's go. So we take off running.
He's operating on the "it's going to be fine" model.
You're
operating on the "it's not going to be fine."
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, we got to
go.
So we take off running. We're running through the woods. I'm like, bro, we got to keep the sun on our right hand side because we're running back to that river. I don't know these woods. I don't know where we're at. Except we just drove here.
Yeah.
But I remember when we crossed that bridge with the sun on the left.
Right.
So if we keep the sun on the right, we'll get back to that river. It was the Swanee River, I think, which is like. Do you know the springs in Florida? Like the spring rivers? Like
I know where the Swanee River is. Yeah.
Alligators on there.
Yeah. But that's every water.
It's like water in Florida.
Yeah.
But this is way out in the middle of nothing. Definitely alligators everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, it is Florida. Typical Florida. But still, I was thinking if we get back to the river, we can swim through there, lose the cops that way. But it took about 2 hours to get to the river.
Right.
Of running through the woods, crawling under shit. Because it's not just straight run through the woods. There's shit all in the way. But by the time we get to the river, like I would look back and I don't see my buddy, the guy who left with me. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, let's go. He's not running. He's like, I'm tired. Like, all right, look, if they catch you out here, we're dead. They're going to kill you. I don't want, he's a friend of mine. I don't want nothing to happen to him. So I'm like running back to get him. By the time we got to the river, I done ran 2 or 3 times as much as him.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you got to keep coming. Like, there's no giving up here.
Right.
They're not going to take you peacefully. Like, that's not going to happen. So we get to the river. The banks are like 10 foot high, and we're standing up on top of the bank looking. Like, all right, we got to jump in this water. Now, running from the cops, adrenaline's running, like super high. I'm hot, but it's cold outside. You know, it's like wintertime, November, Thanksgiving. So it's a bunch of conflicting things, right? When I jump in the water, it's ice cold, spring fed, I think. So it's just like, oh my God, this is all bad. Well, running all that time, I'm getting dehydrated. So by the time we get to the middle of the river, you remember the other guy, he wasn't really running. So when I get to the middle of the river, I'm like running out of energy. I can't swim anymore. I'm just like, oh, am I going to make it? I'm looking back like, can I go back that way? And I'm just like, my arms and feet feel like I have concrete in them. I'm like, oh shit. So I kick my shoes off. And when I kick my shoes off, my feet just go straight down. I'm like, God dang it. The shoes were holding my feet afloat.
Okay.
So now I'm just like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to drown in this river. But I'm looking at my buddy and I'm like spitting and like, you know, flailing in the water like a drowning person. Like clearly I'm not doing good. And he's over there back floating in front of me like this, paddling away. Like, dude, I just ran back to get you 10 times. What are you doing? And so I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to drown. I just give up.
I mean, what happens? You don't drown.
No.
Okay.
But for like a millisecond, I'm thinking, no, just give up. I would rather drown right now.
Right.
And I just go under the water and it was like everything's turning black. And all I thought about was my daughter. And it was just like something grabbed me and like pulled me out of the water. I don't know how I got out of the water, but I made it. When we get to the other side of the bank, like we're waist deep in water, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You were leaving me. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you see me, I'm choking on the water. I'm drowning. I'm like, what? He's like, I didn't know. I'm screaming. I'm yelling. I'm spitting. What? He's like, oh, I was back floating. I couldn't hear you because his ears were underwater.
Right.
I'm like, whatever. You seen me. And so now we're at the edge of the bank, and I'm looking like, all right, where should we go? And a tree had fallen from the top of the bank down into the water, right? So it was like the banks were real muddy. I was like, let's climb up the tree so you can't see our feet print going up the bank, you know? And when we get to the very top and I step up, like to climb up it, you know, and my head hit a tree branch. Just splits my head open. So now I'm barefooted. I'm leaking blood. I'm dehydrated. And this is like hours of running from the cops. I'm exhausted. My legs started Charlie horse. My hamstrings. You ever had one?
Yeah.
Crucial. It's terrible. Luckily, he was with me because my leg would bend and he would have to bend it back out. Like it would lock all the way back like that, you know? And he would have to bend it back out. But then it got so bad, it just kept doing it. Both of them would do it at the same time. So it was like I'm hogtied on the ground.
Yeah.
Like with both of my legs like this. And he's got to bend them both back out. It was excruciating pain. So it got to a point that I can't bend my knees while I'm running. I'm having to run straight-legged. And I'm still outrunning this dude. I'm looking like I had braces on my legs, you know?
Right.
And you can't bend them. It was ridiculous. So we ended up running for about 10 hours. It was nighttime, late at night. We ended up at like an old back road, like a old country highway road. And there was a bar, like just a real small little wooden bar in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, bro, go over there and get us a ride. I'm in no condition to go over there. My legs are all messed up. I've got blood all over me. I don't have shoes. I look crazy. He's still got shoes. He's not cut. Nothing's wrong with him. He don't even seem tired. So I'm like, go over there and get us a ride. So he goes over there, and there's 3 people coming out, 2 guys and a girl. He's like, hey, me and my buddy were in the river. We were riding jet skis with these girls. They left us and like came up with some story, right? He's like, will you give us a ride? He gave us $750 to give us a ride.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, give them all the money. I don't care. Give us a ride. And so when they said okay, he said he had a buddy with him. They were like, where is he at? He's like, he's over there laying down in the bushes. Automatic red flag. Like, They should have been like, no, we're not picking nobody up from the bushes.
Well, the $750 is, I mean, you don't charge $750 for
that
ride
alone. Yeah.
Yeah. I know something's up.
They should have known. But this dude, and I'm friends with this guy today.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually
he really says
cool.
He didn't know?
He didn't care. He said, I would help you again.
Yeah.
So when they pick us up, they come across the street and pick me up. I mean, We get in the car. Dude, I'm in the back of this little 2-door Honda Civic, and my legs would not stop Charlie horsing. You can't straighten them out.
Yeah. Well, you need water, right?
Like, yeah, but I got water. I got Gatorade. It wasn't doing any good. It was like way past the point of just like, okay, I'm good. It was way past that. The kid says, I got to take my girl home. His girl was pregnant. I'm like, all right, cool. When you go in there, will you get me a pair of shoes? I said, I'll give you 50 more bucks. So now they got $800.
Right.
He said, yeah, no problem. He goes in. He comes back out. He's got a pair of Corona slides, like shower slides, but Corona ones. And
that's not it. Those aren't. That's not $50 pair of shoes. But
I had these for years in prison. I went back to prison. I'm the only person in there with Corona slides. So when he comes outside, his dad's with him. Mm-hmm. His dad's got a police scanner. He said, man, I know who you guys are. I've been listening to it on the police scanner all day. I'm like, look. We're not here to hurt you guys. We're not trying to cause no problem. But on the radio, it's saying a fugitive that escaped, that was convicted of murder, another fugitive escaped convicted of robbery. I mean, it sounds like we're dangerous.
Yeah.
Like he should have been like, get the fuck out of here or call the cops or whatever, right? And I said, look, man, keep the money. We'll leave. I want no problem. We didn't hurt anybody. Your kids are fine. He's like, no, I'm going to let him give you a ride. I'm like, what? Okay. It's kind of crazy, but sure, let's go. So we get in the car, and that dude calls the cops. Like, thinking about it, like, if that was my kids, one, you're not riding nowhere. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
But there's no way I would have called the cops.
After that, you're putting them in even more danger.
With these two people in the backseat.
Right.
Like, that's insane. He called the cops and gave them the tag number, so they put a bolo out for that car. And when we're riding down the road, we passed a state trooper. We were in Gainesville. We passed a state trooper, and the kid said, hey, man, he did a U-turn. I'm like, dude, if he tries to pull us over, just pull over. I'm done.
Right. I
can't run no more. Like, I'm at this point getting delirious. So they pull us over. The state trooper's yelling, hey, get out of the car. You know, everybody hands up and all this shit. And so when I'm standing there, my leg Charlie horses, and I fall on the ground. Dude, he runs and jumps on me. He's like, I told you not to move. I'm like, my leg Charlie horsed. I can't control it. He puts us in the cop car, me and my co-defendant. And when we are in the cop car, my co-defendant starts talking to the guy, like making friendly small talk with him. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. This dude is taking us back to jail.
Right.
We're not friends with him. Luckily, he talked to him, though. Like, he's thinking way more clear. Like, my mind is messed up at the time. But him talking to the guy and telling him, like, the whole story, that cop, when DOC pulled up, they had like 100 and something officers, correctional officers. One of them fell out of the boat and broke their arm. They're like pissed off. Like, they were up and down that river trying to find us. They're screaming at the guy, let him out of the car, like surrounding the car. Yeah. The state trooper says, I'm not letting him out of the car. I'm taking them to the county jail. They committed the crime. I arrested them. You can get them from there.
Right.
Thank God he did.
Yeah, yeah.
Would not have made it back to prison. So he takes us to county jail, Alachua County, Gainesville. Puts, sends us through booking. We go to court the next morning. Then we went in front of the court and they read our charges. The whole courtroom's laughing at us. It's just like, these fucking dudes. So then the prison people come and get us, but they got it on video. The whole way from county jail, they videotaped the whole thing, right, all the way to our cell, like all the way when they put us in our cell. So they didn't do anything to us. Thankfully, they had the camera. They put us in a thing called max management. You probably don't really hear about it in Florida because there's only 24 cells in Florida that are called max management. They're at FSP, which is where death row is at. So this whole building is like a 1/4-mile long building that's all solitary confinement. And then the last wing on the left is death row. And then the last wing in the back is maximum management, which is like the worst of the worst. Like my neighbor was in there for killing an officer and he's got death penalty. Just a bunch of maniacs back there, right? And so that cell has got 2 doors, no windows. And they're like, you're not getting the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. Like there's no sunlight penetration. You're locked inside. You got to go in a hallway, and then your cell is on the inside of the hallway. There's no walls that are on the outside of the building. You know what I mean? So when you go in your first door, that's already inside your cell. And then they got another door that you go in to get into where your bunk's at. You know what I mean? So you're always behind 2 doors, and they just keep the lights on 24/7. No sunlight. You're not going outside. And when you ask them when you're going outside, they're like, that 1 hour a day shit, we'll burn the rule book in front of your cell.
Right.
You're not going outside. You're not doing nothing. There's no privileges back there. Like, you don't get any type of canteen. I'm not saying that I should deserve it. I'm just saying you don't get anything.
Right.
You get religious material, deodorant, toothpaste, a security toothbrush, the little one.
Yeah.
That's all you get. You're not getting nothing else. That place back there is brutal. Like, there was a dude that came back there while I was there. He killed his roommate. His roommate was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put him back there, he said, hey, when did we get to watch TV? Like go to the day room. They said, there's no TV back here. He said, well, when can I order canteen? There's no canteen back here. When can I use the phone? There's no phone back here. He said, I'm not staying back here.
So you get new charges?
Oh, yeah. Escape from prison.
Okay.
Yeah. They give me, so when on that, they give me 1.5 years extra.
Okay.
They took away all my game time, which I had 1.5 years of game time.
Right.
So on the 8.5 years that I would have did, I ended up doing 11 total. And then, so they kept me in solitary confinement. I think it was 1.5 years. I don't remember the exact time. Normally, every 30 days you go up for a review on solitary confinement, and it's like step 1, 2, and 3, and then you go. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting in trouble. I wasn't saying anything, speaking to nobody, nothing. I was like not getting in any trouble. Every time I go up for a review, they say, oh no, they just pass it on. Everybody was pissed off.
Right.
The people, like the review board. So I stayed there for like 1.5 years, I think. Maybe 2. I don't remember exactly. But for sure, 1.5 years. Solitary, no roommate.
Right. On the new charges, do you get, do they assign you an attorney?
Oh, yeah, I had an attorney, but I never really even spoke to them.
Right.
When they said 1.5 years, I'm like, oh, I'll take that. They could give you 15 for it.
Right.
So actually, when we were going to court, it was me, my co-defendant, and the female. Because they charged her.
What happened with her?
Yeah, they charged her. So,
how do they know she was involved?
They suspected it. And then when they went to her house, supposedly, like, she was in there, took a bunch of pills, and, like, it was like, ugh. She admitted everything.
Right. Plus a kid's phone, the one kid's phone, you had called
her. They probably got that. I don't know that they did because I didn't get none of the information going to court.
Right.
When they offered me 1.5 years, I was like, I'll take that.
Right.
But when we were going to court, she told the prosecutor, she said, give me all his time. I'll do it all. She knew the prosecutor.
What is going on, bro?
That's what she said. She knew the prosecutor.
Right. He
told her, look, you better take this year because he gave her 1 year.
Right.
He gave her 1 year, the other guy, my co-defendant, 1 year, and then he gave me 1.5 years. He said, y'all better take this and get the fuck out of here. Like, because DOC was pressing him to give us more time. Right. But it's up to him, not DOC.
Right.
So
by the time you got out of solitary confinement, she's done with her time.
Oh, yeah, she was gone. She went home. She went back to Lake Butler, which is where she lived.
Right.
But she was like banished from that town. Right. The whole town is correction officers, She moved to Kentucky.
Did she ever write you?
We stayed in touch, yeah. We stayed in touch for a while, but things just really got out of control. She was like...
She was what?
She was... Obviously, so to begin with, when you're a correction officer, right, you're hired to keep people in prison.
Yeah.
I never approached her. I didn't manipulate the situation of like trying to approach her and talk her into something or convince her. Right. She approached me.
Right.
And then eventually I manipulated it.
Right.
But you got to be somewhat off your rocker to begin with to be approaching me.
Right.
So
she was what, obsessed with you when she got out?
Yeah, it was like more than obsessed. It was just some type of crazy that I never experienced with anyone else. It just got to a point when I ended up back on the compound from solitary confinement. Mm-hmm. One day I was just like, I just can't do it anymore.
Was she saying this time I'm going to break into the prison to get you out?
She was doing all type of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you know about books?
Books?
Yeah, with cell phones in them.
I can't imagine you could. But I'm sure you could.
Oh, you can.
I guess.
I just get 3 phones in one book.
Aren't they checking these books?
Yeah, they check them. Yeah, you got to be an expert at this. So you get a 1,200-page book. It doesn't matter now. Like if it's on YouTube, they know. Yeah. Right? So you get a big, thick 1,200-page, 1,600 page book.
Right.
Not typical book, right?
Yeah.
Like a really big book, big novel. And you take the book and open up front or back, doesn't matter. And you cut about 6 pages in, you cut it down the spine. And when it flips open, the spine is exposed.
Yeah.
Right. And then you put it in a clamp, like a tabletop clamp. But on each side, you put like a 2x8, a big board, right? So that it doesn't put the clamp and print into the book.
Yeah.
You know, the metal the clamp. So you clamp the book and then you route it with a router for routing wood.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the phones I'm talking about are little small flip phones that they
Right.
used to sell like at the farm, like Walgreens. So you route it out, this pocket, into the spine, and then you fill it in with Gorilla Glue.
Okay.
Because Gorilla Glue is super strong, but it's flexible.
Right.
Right. So when it's bending, it doesn't break. And you just put the phones in there, seal the book back, print up a fake Books A Million invoice,
Yeah.
mail it in. Never in my name, obviously.
All right.
And pay some dude to get it mailed in. 3 books at 3 phones per book. Those phones were selling for like $500-$600, depending on what compound you're in. So initially, when she came home, she couldn't really get a job. I'm like, all right, look, this is what I need you to do.
All right.
She's like, all right, how do I do it? So she did that for a while. It's pretty lucrative for her.
Jeez. Colby?
So you get out eventually.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you
I'm looking at some of your. I'm searching up your name. And I'm looking at you. You had an interview with R. Dan.
Yeah.
Big Herc.
Yeah.
So yeah, you made some of the rounds. Yeah. So what happens when you get out?
Well, yeah. So somebody told me, I met a guy in California, San Diego, where I was living at, that he does just a bunch of like online marketing stuff, and he knew about Big Herc. He knew about my story, and he knew about Big Herc. He's like, oh, dude, you need to go and interview with this guy, Big Herc. He like interviews people getting out of prison. And I looked him up and I was like, oh, all right, cool. So I started messaging him, but he wasn't replying. I'm like, man, my story is way more interesting than these other stories you're telling.
Right.
I'm like, so I started messaging him. I'm like, hey, dude, you know what? Forget it. I don't need you to interview me. Maybe I need to interview you. It's just like playing around, being like kind of sarcastic. And finally he messaged me back. And then he called me and was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. So we met at LA. The place we did the interview at was Lady Gaga's old apartment. Like, she sold it to somebody who, like, I guess the guy knew her, but bought it from her. It was a really cool apartment right downtown LA. So we did an interview there. And from that, it got pretty good views. I was telling another buddy of mine who owns an audio theater company over in LA, like he does all the celebrity people, like he knows all the celebrities. He does big audio theater shit, like $1 million theater in people's houses. I was telling him about the story one day, and he's like, man, this sounds like a movie. Right. And I'm like, here, it's on YouTube. And I share it. He watched it on YouTube. Then when he came back, he was like, dude, can I share it? I'm like, it's on YouTube. Yeah. What are you talking about? Of course, share it. He shared it with some friends that were movie producers. And they were like, man, where's the guy at? We need to meet him. We arranged to meet in Vegas because the husband and wife movie producers, the guy is a boxer. So he had a boxing match in Vegas. So I flew over there and met them. Super cool people. And we ended up becoming really good friends. But they were like, this movie is a little bit too big for us. We're going to introduce you to somebody else. So they introduced me to one of their friends who he was like, yeah, it's cool. Let's make it. But we got to find a writer. And so he sent me a bunch of different material to read through to see who I like their writing style. So we got a hold of this one guy. Dude lived in New York. He started to write it. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I couldn't get a hold of the guy. I'm like, this bitch done stole my story.
Did he die?
Huh?
Did he die?
We thought he did.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I need to get a dump truck and go see this guy. He stole my story. No, he was kind of a weird dude that just went off grid like when COVID happened. And so the initial guy that introduced me to him, he was a director. He was like, dude, I'm going to just write a treatment, like 30 pages.
Right.
And when I started telling him the story,
that's a huge treatment, but go ahead.
He kept calling back. He's like, dude, tell me more. So he got to 90 pages. And he's like,
a fucking script.
Yeah. Then he kept calling back. He's like, dude, I'm at 180 pages, 200 pages.
Right.
He's like, fuck it. He wrote the whole thing. And then he ended up, so we got to turn it into a movie. It's being edited now. But the guy that wrote it ended up directing it. this is what he normally does is directing.
Right.
But he wrote it into a script and doing the way he wrote it is so like there's a bunch of different emotion, but it's funny, it's sad, it's cool.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's pretty badass.
Okay, so you know when it's going to be done?
Toward the end of the year.
And are they going to try and enter it into any of these
film festivals?
The film festivals?
Yeah. So hopefully it goes to Tribeca, because the guy that directed it, his last film gave him kind of like an end to Tribeca. Mm-hmm. We're hoping it goes there because that's pretty big. But not sure right now where it's going to go. But hopefully Tribeca. But everybody that's been involved with it, like all the multiple producers, the people that played the parts, are like, dude, this is going to go in a theater.
That'd be nice, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Even if it doesn't, even worst case, it goes on a streaming device.
Right.
The cool thing to me is that telling my story is one thing, right?
Yeah.
But you know, when everybody dies, and who knows what tomorrow brings, right?
Right.
My grandmother, for example, like she was extremely well known, like in her town where she was from. Real funny lady, real just like she's wild, crazy story. She's been dead a couple of years. Nobody's thinking about her. Nobody remembers. Like nobody even knows who she was anymore.
Right.
It's done. She lived her life. But once they make it into a movie, even if it's on a streaming device, that shit's there forever.
Right.
You know? So for me, that's pretty cool.
The chick, I'm wondering. I do keep wondering, like, what is this chick? She's leaving you alone, or I.
I mean, when I told her, like, I'm done with this,
right?
She was like, no, you're not. Like, I don't know that I'm done with it, you know? But I just, honestly, like, even her hearing it, like, she might hear it.
Right.
She knows that it was never going to be anything.
Right.
But when, you know, I felt bad about the whole thing for playing my part in it and manipulating it to the point that it went to. I did feel bad for it.
Right.
And, you know, obviously I caught, we stayed in contact. Like if it would have worked out, I don't think I'd have ever made it to Guatemala. I'd have probably been whacked somewhere in between, because like when I moved to California, when I got out and lived in San Diego for years, I've been across the border into TJ. Mm-hmm. It's not a safe place.
Right.
Especially for a white dude on the run, that my thinking was way different back then. You go over there trying to act crazy.
Right.
Big problem. So I probably would not have made it, but in thinking that I would have, like, I wasn't even thinking about her at all.
Yeah.
But then when I did get caught, we started writing, staying in contact. And then, you know, I just felt bad about it. And then, like, when she couldn't make any money or couldn't find a job, I was like, how can I help this lady? And, I mean, how can I help her in there?
Right, yeah.
All right, here's what you can do.
But when you got out of prison, she reached out to you then? Was she, or she was by that time?
No, we cut that off.
Oh, okay. Oh,
way before I got out, like about a year and a half before I got out, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I quit talking to her.
Know if she, you know, she could have kept tabs and realized
she
she's
kept
out now. Let me try and contact her now.
She kept in contact with my daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that, like, when it became known that there was really no plan, mm-hmm. like, I don't think she would want to talk to me at all at that point.
Right.
You know, like, what are you going to say?
What else? So what are you doing now?
Real estate.
Real estate?
Yeah. Building a house right now. Plan is to resell it in a couple of years, but probably going to keep it for a couple of years. I got some rental properties. I've done a lot of shit since I've been home.
Right.
One of the big things, my Bucky, who I told you is a real smart computer guy.
Yeah.
He got out 3 years before I did. When I came home and contacted him, he's like, bro, I've made $15 million in 3 years. I'm like, what are you doing
to begin with?
Yeah, super smart dude. So Amazon was becoming big when he got out. Mm-hmm. And this dude's all about reading, learning all algorithms, like the algorithms playing in his head clear. So he learned Amazon and he started selling knockoff tablets. Like that was his thing, buying knockoff stuff from China, reselling them. And he said he made like 100 and something grand really quick selling a tablet, but Amazon caught him. They caught him, they shut his account down, but he already had his money.
Right.
So he took his money and he went to China. And when he went over there, he found a place that was building this streaming TV box, like a Fire Stick.
Right. And
what he did was just say, hey, make the same streaming TV box, but when it powers on, make it say my company name and logo, which was G-Box. And so he put that on Amazon, you know, as his own brand, made $15 million on that box in 3 years.
Put any money on your books? during that 3 years?
No, I didn't ask him for anything.
15 million. I'd have stayed in contact when he left. Hey, bro.
He was living in Orlando. That's where he's from, Orlando.
Right.
So when he got out, he started making all that money. He was getting big shipments from China. He moved to L.A. This dude's wild, too. He's a trip. Real pretty boy. Like prison. And he told me, too, he's like, dude, after you escape, they sent me to the worst prison. He's not no tough guy.
Right.
He's like real pretty boy target in prison. When he got out, he moved to L.A. to save money on shipping, from China to California.
Right.
But he's infatuated with Asian chicks.
Right.
And so...
what runs through my head? The White Lotus.
No, this dude is not on that.
Okay.
Lady girl.
Good to know.
So,
Just making sure.
This dude, when he moves to L.A., he bought a condo in some little area of L.A. that's all Asian people.
Right. Like Chinatown?
Yeah, but not Chinatown.
Right.
There's something else. I don't remember the name of it. Starts with an A. If I remember, I'll tell you. So he moves to this town, buys this condo, but he never went to this condo complex. He just bought it. Like he's got enough money, he doesn't care. He just bought it. There's no Asian girls living there.
Right. Is that why he bought it?
He thought there was going to be. Yeah, there's none. But when I came over to his condo, it was wild. Him and his brother both are like real pretty boys, but he's the one with all the money. But his brother's there for the ride. Dude, they got girls just coming in back to back, and he's like, "Dude, we got girls on rotation in here." I'm like, "What?" Literally, he was not kidding. Like he'll be like, "Hey, your Uber's outside," and then more girls come in. I'm like, "Where are they coming from?" He's like, "Dude, it's Tinder." I'm like, Tinder don't work like that. He's like, yeah, it does. I said, I already tried it. It doesn't work like that. He's like, his brother, he was like, let me show you. So he got my phone on the Tinder account. He's like, look, do it like this. I'm like, bro, give him a phone. You're not looking. You're just swiping everything like. He's like, dude, it's algorithm. I'm like, what? We're not even looking at these people.
Right.
He's like, no, because the more matches you get, the more Tinder will put you out there. He said, all you do is just keep swiping. And then when you're getting matches, it puts you out there more. He said, just go back and erase the ugly ones. I'm like, oh, all right. Okay. That explains it. Dude, they literally had just girl after girl after girl. It was weird though. One of the girls came over and like they were doing whatever, fucking around with the chick. And he put a booger on the chick and told her, get out of here. Your Uber's here. I'm like, what? Why'd you just put a booger on the girl? So weird. He left California, Texas, and they hit him with like a $600,000 tax bill for something. So he moved to Vegas, opened up a nightclub over there. Oh yeah, one of the other things I was doing was Bitcoin. This was years ago.
Right.
I'm talking to him one day, and he's like, "Dude, I'm making like $1,000 a day trading Bitcoin." I'm like, "What is Bitcoin?" This is 2016, I think, 16, 17ish. I'm like, "What is Bitcoin?" Like I haven't really heard of it at the time. Right. So he's telling me, but he's telling you real technical terms. Yeah. I'm like, I'm lost. So I'm living in San Diego. He's in LA. I'm like, I'll just drive up there. So I drive up there to meet him. And the whole time he's just on his computer, like trading. And dude, he's got miners. Do you know about mining crypto?
Yeah.
He's got miners everywhere. He's got a big warehouse downtown LA, like on 12th and something. I don't know where. But miners every fucking where. And he's just making a ton of money, right? And so he's like, all you got to do is just go put the money in whatever it was, Coinbase or something, and then just buy the Bitcoin, like trade it, like make money, whatever. So I'm like, all right, I bought $15,000 worth of Bitcoin. At that time, it was $600 per coin. My first buy.
What is it now, like 2,000-3,000 or something? What is it now?
Bitcoin? No, it just hit $100,000.
$100,000?
Yes, it's probably.
Yeah. It's down now. Like I think it's in the 80s.
50 or 80 or something.
It's in the 80s, I think.
Jesus.
It did hit 100. It cracked 100.
85,000.
Yeah, 85. So from that point, I kept buying. Like the email that I was using to buy, I took it off my phone because when you look at it, it's just like buy 2,000, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. If I had all that Bitcoin now, it'd be so many millions. I don't have any of it.
What happened?
Sold it, traded it, bought stuff. One point I joined a bot that he told me about. Right. My buddy. He's like, dude, put your money in a bot. He said, I forgot what the profit was per day that it was making. He's like, you can pull your profits per day, no penalty. I'm like, what? So I put some money in there. It's profiting. You can pull your profits out every day. I was like, oh, this is great. I opened an account for my daughter, my wife, multiple people. Mm-hmm. And then I'm telling people. And so what it was they were letting you pull your profits every day, but you're telling people you're opening more accounts.
Right.
They're getting more and more deposits. And then when a month or so later, a friend of mine calls me. She's like, hey, I got like 100 and something grand in my account, but I can't do a withdrawal. I'm like, what? So I log into my account, and me and her got the same balance, like the same exact number, right? Total balance.
Right.
And I try to withdraw, can't withdraw.
What's the issue?
So they kept everybody's money. They got everybody to put money in. It was like feeding them. You get your profits.
Right.
So it was like, cool, put more in there, Tell your friends. Everybody's putting their money in. And then they kept everybody's money.
Oh. So it's a scam.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of them. Yeah. Then I put some money into a mining operation in Iceland. It turned out to be a bullshit scam too. Yeah.
This is no good. So
Bitcoin never worked out for me.
Right.
It's real depressing to look at my email. So I just erase that shit.
All right. So you have, I was gonna say, what do you have? What socials do you have?
Instagram, Facebook. I have a YouTube, but I don't really use it.
Okay.
Yeah. I quit doing social media shit a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah. I just got tired of it.
Plus,
I've just been traveling a lot.
How'd you get hooked up with Dan?
That was when I was doing YouTube stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are all like 6 years ago.
So it was like when people first started doing the prison thing.
Right.
And before, like, what was it? After prison show, APS. You know that guy?
Yeah. After prison.
He was the first one that got like 1 million subscribers. Then there was Big Herc. There was a couple of big ones.
Mm-hmm.
The other kid, Josh, 23-1 or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't that many big channels. Right. And then there was like me, Jessica Kent, Dan, another dude who quit doing it. We were all just like friends.
Yeah.
Like on talking, online. In fact, Jessica, the other kid too, that his turned really big was, he's like a white kid that's like gang member, real thugged out.
Is he kind of chubby, or he was chubby? Is he still chubby?
Yeah, he's chubby.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did time in Florida.
Did he? I don't know. I've never.
1090 Jake.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that kid.
And then,
dude, he's made a freaking ton of money.
Yeah.
Like big time.
A lot of
he
these
was
guys
watching one of my videos, and it's why he started doing YouTube. That kid.
Yeah, a lot of these guys have. That's why I'm so surprised you stopped doing it. Just.
Yeah, it wasn't working.
Right.
It was a lot of time consuming. I just quit doing it. Jessica, she made a lot of money. You know her?
Yeah. She's come here.
She made quite a bit. She was going to quit doing it. And then I was like, because we used to talk all the time on the phone. I'm like, you got a really cool story. Don't quit. Like, keep doing it. And then right after that, she did an interview with the other chick. She used to have dreads, but she's a white chick. She's from Florida. Christina Randall.
Oh, okay. I don't know who that is. I've probably seen her. I probably just don't know the name.
Yeah, she got a pretty big channel. Christina interviewed her, and then her thing went to like 40,000, and then it started growing from there.
Okay, I actually think Jessica Kent might have mentioned that when she was here, that she had interviewed somebody and it blew her channel up.
No, the girl interviewed her.
Yeah. The other
Krista.
Girl interviewed
Jessica.
Jessica. Jessica's channel blew up.
Yeah.
But then when she was here, she had just hit like 1 million on TikTok or something. Like she was blowing up on TikTok. She was, of course, when she was here, I guess she was about to get married, right? Her fiance was the
Burner.
Is that his name?
The music guy?
No, not the music. No,
she divorced that guy.
Yeah. But I mean, like they were about to get, either they had just gotten married or they were about to be married, and then within a year that crumbled.
Yeah.
And then she met some other guy with tattoos all over.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I really paid attention since then. There's a ton of them, but a lot of those are like prison channels. You know what I'm saying? Like
that was the thing too. That's why I quit doing it too, was because like that's what I was talking about, and I was like, I don't even like talking about prison.
Yeah, me
this shit is boring.
Yeah.
Like,
first of all, I don't have those kinds of stories. Like these guys.
There's a lot of the stories are bullshit.
No,
then when I hear them, because like I was only in Florida, but I was there 11 years. You can't tell me none of this story shit that I haven't seen or heard, right? And especially like what you were doing in there, like making money in there. I didn't tell it on here, but there was other shit. Like I was getting a lot of cell phones in there for a while. The warden escorted my package in one day. We had a whole wood pallet of wood come in for Toys for Tots. You remember how I told you we were routing the book out? Mm-hmm. We had a whole 4x4 that was routed inside with 18 phones in it. And the warden didn't know. He had no idea. He escorted the whole package in. We were getting phones in like crazy. And, but my point is, like, I've done everything inside there.
Yeah.
Like, not the drugs or the fucking boy shit, but I've seen or been around all the shit. And like, when you hear dudes that are talking about like all the shit they've seen or done, like the dude Badger, you ever see him? I was just like, oh, I can't stand hearing this shit. Wes Watson. You're totally full of shit. I went a story. Somebody told me about this guy a long time ago. He went on Big Hurt Channel's what really blew his shit up.
Who? Wes Watson?
Yeah.
I was saying that the other day. That was the first time I saw him. And on Wes Watson, on that first interview, he was different than he is. After that happened, his stories have gotten even more insane. Everything's...
I can't stand the guy because I'm not with the lying bullshit.
Right.
But he took full advantage of dumb people that buy into the bullshit, that don't know. Not necessarily dumb people, but if you don't know, you haven't been there. Right. It's just ignorance to what is true. He took full advantage of it because it was really just be whatever you want to be on there.
Right.
And he fucking made a fucking ton of money doing it. But it's just total bullshit. Like when somebody told me about him and I clicked on one of his videos about a cell phone. And he was like, yeah, I had a cell phone in my cell. And he said the police came by and seen him with the phone.
Right.
And the guy was like, what do you got? But he put the phone down so the guy couldn't see it. And he said the guy was trying to get in the cell, but he held the door shut. Like, okay, yeah, you're a big dude. You're not holding the door shut if the officer is trying to get in there. Even if that officer can't get the door open, he's calling.
Yeah.
He just hit the button. They're coming. You're not holding the door shut. So he said he held the door shut, right? I only listened to a little bit of the video before I turned it off. I was just like, oh my God, people are going for this shit. So he says he holds the door, and then that guy leaves, goes and gets more officers. And while they're gone, he hid the phone in a light socket on, switch.
Right.
Dude, they're going to tear that whole cell apart.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to examine your butthole. They're going to examine everything in this cell. They're going to find that phone.
Yeah.
He says they don't find the phone. They take him to like the captain's office. And when they take him in there, they're like, why'd you tell the guy you had a phone? He was like, I told him what he wanted to hear. And they were like, so you don't have a phone? And he was like, no. And so he said all the captains, like the higher up, started bagging on that officer in front of him.
Right. Yeah. I listen.
That's not happening.
I know. Listen, there's so many stories that are just, and a lot of these other guys jump on the same thing. Like, oh, guys in the comment section will say like, if you have to, that, as soon as you get in, you got to join a gang. You got to, like, you don't have.
It's
like,
total bullshit.
It just, look, and this is the thing too, is like every state's different. The feds are different. You could say something, oh, this is how it was. Yeah. That would never happen. It's okay. Well, you did 2 years in California state. Like that doesn't mean that you're, even if you say federal prison in California, a low is different than a federal prison, a low in Florida.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like that prison, you may have those are tough prisons compared to a Florida low. So everything is different, and everybody's so 100%. This is the way it is, and that's the way it is, and it's not always like that. And these guys, like I said, they exaggerate the stories, or they're really telling a story that happened to another guy or a guy that they heard.
Yeah.
And then Wes Austin says he did like over a decade in California state prisons.
Yeah.
He really did his time in, I think, Arizona. I think he only did like 18 months in California, and he was housed in like Arizona or another state, whatever state houses prisoners for. Right. And then he was in a couple different locations there, and he didn't do 10 years. He did like 7. Like, bro, like first of all, what does it matter? Yeah. Why lie about that? It's like, it's kind of like and when we'll wrap it up, it's kind of like the Marcus Shrinker. It's like, this is a guy who would lie about everything, but the truth of it, what he really was he's a stunt pilot. Like he has a degree in aeronautics and finance. He's pilot's license. He is a stunt pilot. He has his own stunt plane. He has his own personal aircraft too. He runs a wealth management company and has a dozen guys that work underneath him, and lives in a $2.5 million house. Like, you're a top tier individual. And then you know what he does on top of that? He then has to lie and say he was in the Air Force flying these jets. He worked with NASA. It's like, what are you doing? You're already a top tier person. Like if you're gonna if you're gonna say, hey, I'm a tough guy. I went to federal prison. Okay, you don't have to jump from 7 years to 10. You don't have to jump from Arizona to California. Like, why not just stick with the truth? Yeah. The truth to the guy that's driving the forklift is already, unfortunately, impressed by that. Yeah. You don't have to add all the other bullshit. So, but they don't. They have to add it, and they have to be the toughest guy, and they got to be the shot caller, and they got to walk around with my paperwork hooped in my ass. And stop, bro, stop.
That's so dumb. Have you seen the spinoffs of him?
Yeah,
people that talk the same exact way in the camera as him and shit. I'm like, dude.
Some of these guys are like his disciples, and they mimic him. Some of them mimic him.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Some guys mock him, but some guys
I'm talking about the people mimicking him.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Oh my golly, this dude done infiltrated your brain that bad?
Yeah, and then you're a life coach on a guy who clearly doesn't have life down, and he's giving business. He's teaching people about how to run a business on a guy who's never run a successful business other than being a life coach.
Yeah, no, he has. I mean, he's made a ton of money, right?
Absolutely.
A friend of mine is friends with him, and well, not really friends. They're acquaintances. My friend's a real estate agent. This kid knows everybody. He just puts himself in situations to meet people. Really good kid, and he was friends with the guy. And a couple of times he went by his house like to congratulate him on something else that he did. He bought a big penthouse in downtown San Diego, and the dude got real rude with him. But then he bought a house, supposedly bought this house in Rancho, super rich zip code. I don't remember the exact name, but it's like where all the super rich people live, just north of San Diego. And the kid called him at like 9 o'clock at night. And Wes snapped on him, threatened to come to his house and fuck him up. The kid called me. He's like, dude, what do I do? He's threatening me. And I'm like, bro, he's not going to come and mess with you. He's got way too much to lose. Like,
well, but
just forget about it.
But then he got arrested recently.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Jumped on the dude in the gym.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That was pretty lame too. Yeah.
Are we good? Because we'll just keep going, bro. Like you have to just walk away sometimes. That's what I'll tell people all the time. I'll keep talking. I'm like, walk away, bro. Like, you just have to walk away. All right. So just do the thing. All right. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to leave all of Bryan's social media links in the description box. So just click there, follow. And once again, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor and consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make these videos. Thank you very much. See ya.